his maiden Formula One victory back in 1985. It is a great location for the Endurance Challenge to kick off in 2024, and we have got some fantastic competitors joining forces with the regular Porsche Brazil competitors to make this a big and bombastic event. The ambient temperature, 24 degrees Celsius, add 10 more to that, and that is the surface temperature on the Circuito Estoril. You're in for an exciting battle for qualifying. I'm Jake Sanson, great to be with you once again, and this is definitely going to be added spice to a very familiar flavour. Porsche is already very exciting in Brazil. The sprint challenge in the Carrera Cup is always exciting and feisty. But now we go endurance. Things get bigger and bolder when we take this into consideration. And the amount of drivers that we bring to the contest is just astronomical. There are some amazing competitors that we can talk about. Some of the names that have made Brazilian motorsport what it is over the last few generations. And we are so excited about what we can expect from this exciting duel. There are so many great contests to come up to the fore. And we have got some amazing challenges upon us. Expect some big names to join the regular competitors, the likes of Indy 500 winner Tony Kanaan, Formula E champion Nelson Piquet Jr., Formula E champion and one-time sports car superstar Antonio Felix da Costa, and Formula One race here from the contenders in the that you'll know well from various different forms of in duration, combining all of the contenders from the endurance challenge as a combo. But every car in the grid has the Formula One driver, former Formula E champion.
Oi, Luke, tudo certo? Um abraço para você, para todos que estão ligados com a gente, um abraço também para o Mendonça. Tudo certo por aqui no Autódromo do Estoril e como vocês podem perceber pelo movimento dos cabelos, venta e venta demais aqui nessa região de Cascais, em Portugal. E eu acho que esse vai ser um elemento para a gente ficar de olho, tanto no classificatório quanto na corrida de amanhã. O Antônio Félix da Costa, até conversando com ele, ele que é piloto convidado, campeão da Fórmula E, estará correndo também nesse final de semana, falou, olha, esse é um autódromo muito ventoso. Então, se na curva 1 você perceber que o vento tá jogando ao seu favor, tá impulsionando o carro, saiba que na curva 5 o negócio é o contrário, faz o carro dar uma estremecida. A gente vai ver como as duplas, como os pilotos vão lidar com isso, porque venta e venta bastante aqui no Autódromo do Estoril.
Well, apologies, folks, for the slight difficulties there in the dropout. I obviously had a little bit too much water before I got into the commentary booth. We ended up drowning ourselves there. Fortunately, all should be above board now. For those who have only just joined us, welcome to the C6 Bank Porsche Endurance Challenge Brazil. We are at the Estoril circuit in Portugal, a very important aspect, a very important race circuit for Brazilian race fans. It is, of course, not only the same language that is spoken in Brazil, pretty much at least, but it is also the venue for where the Formula One legend Ayrton Senna da Silva scored his maiden Formula One victory back in 1985, 39 years ago. And what a sensational race circuit to come and play in the Endurance Challenge of Brazil. It's a really exciting circuit, this one, and it should give us plenty of excitement and drama over the course of the qualifying session, which is going to come into our viewpoint in just a short while. There's been a slight delay to the timetable, which is good for us because it means that it gives us a little bit more time to prepare for all the action and the drama that we are about to witness. Obviously, for those who were not quite able to hear things at the top of the bill, we have got some amazing competitors taking part this weekend. Not only do we have all of the regular drivers from the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil and the Challenge Brazil Championships, but we also have some big names joining the party as well. Indy 500 winner Tony Kanaan, Formula E champions Nelson Piquet Jr. and Antonio Felix da Costa, and Formula One superstar Rubens Barrichello among the names that are joining us. You're also going to see quite a few regular faces from the world of Stock Car Pro Brazil. A lot of drivers have been brought in to foist the performances of the regular drivers. You've got the likes of Guilherme Salas, Cesar Ramos, you've got Thiago Camilo, Gabriel Casagrande, and all sorts of competitors taking to the circuit this weekend. And it's going to be a fascinating race tomorrow, 2.5 hours in length, the first of our Porsche Challenge Enduro Brazil races, brought to you by C6 Bank. We are so excited to see what these teams can give us. And obviously they are teams just nicked by their sponsorship deals and the mechanics that put all the hard work into them. All the cars identical. It all comes down to how they are prepared. As you can see there, Carlos Campos joined by the Indy 500 winner and superstar Brazilian racing legend Tony Kanaan, who has only just come out of full-time competition at the end of last year, still very heavily involved in IndyCar behind the scenes. Yosemar Junior is being joined by Sergio Romayo, Peter Ferter being joined by Diego Nunez, Francisco Horta is lined up alongside William Frere, Rumen Zimkiewicz is alongside Nelson Piquet Jr., Georgios Vangulis is with Pedro Boisel, and then Nelson Marcondes is with Luis Gracia, Lino Perez joins Beto Gressa, and finally, in the sport category, Marcos Regadas is joined by Jeff Gyasi. A very impressive lineup in the sport category for the Porsche Brazil Enduro Challenge in the main category. Unfortunately, we're not quite going to be able to hear all of the conversations with all of the drivers because they'll be in fluent Portuguese. But if you're fluent in Portuguese, you'll know perfectly well what the Brazilian commentators are like, and all of the conversations will be in the fluent language. If you are not familiar with Portuguese as much as I am, or as much as anyone else is watching along, then this is the way to go about it. In the Cup category, we've got some really impressive lineups. Alcy Feldman is being joined by Guilherme Salas in the number 1 car. Franco Giafoni is now lining up alongside Cesar Ramos as our reporter catches up with Marcos Regadas, who is one of the newest entries to the list. Miguel Peludo is joining alongside Alan Hellmeister. Werner Neugebauer is joined by Rubens Barrichello, the Formula One driver for Ferrari, Williams, Braun, Jordan, Stewart. The list goes on and on and on. Rodrigo Melo and Thiago Camilo are teaming up. Lucas Salas and Rafael Suzuki teaming up as well. It's a replay of what we saw earlier on in the day. A big incident, unfortunately, coming out of the final turn. That was the car that went off the road. It was Marcos Regadas who went off in practice. So that's the reason we're actually catching up with him at a big shunt earlier in the day during the classified practice sessions. And that is why we're catching up with the team now, just to make sure that everything is okay. Fortunately, Marcos Regadas, as you can see for yourself, is perfectly all right. And that means that he'll be able to continue his journey here this weekend. Continuing on the lineups in the Cup class, Rodrigo Melo is joined by Thiago Camilo. Lucas Salas is joined by Rafael Suzuki, who won the first round of Stock Car Pro Brazil earlier this year. Marcel Muller is joined alongside Enzo Elias. Leandro Martins with Titus Pepes. And then, of course, the Barrichello twins are joining forces in the Treble One. Felipe and Dudu Barrichello are going to be sharing the Treble One Cup car. And the last Cup car that was confirmed in the lineup, Jose Maria Marreros, is alongside Miguel Oliveira. In the rookie category, there are plenty of decent lineups to talk about. Leonardo Sanchez alongside Attila Abreu. Paulo Souza is joined with Galid Osman. Bruno Campos is now alongside Nicolas Costa. Gustavo Farah is joined up with Rafael Abate. Eduardo Menossi is joining Antonio Felix da Costa. Don't forget, he is a full-time Porsche driver in his campaign in Formula E. He'll be back in action, of course, next week in Portland, in Oregon, in the United States, as their championship continues. Seba Marucelli is alongside Marcos Gomez. Celio Brasil is alongside Israel Salman, who is the current leading rookie in the Porsche Brazil Carrera Cup category. And then Piero Cifali is alongside Edu Guedes. That's all the professionals in the Carrera Cup ranks. In the challenge category, there are 14 cars to do battle. They're going to be filtering into the endurance race, of course, as well. It's going to be a very busy racetrack tomorrow. In the challenge category, there's only 3 teams. Caio Castro along with Matias Iroro, and then Sarek Leiter alongside Fabio Carboni, and then Miguel Caetano joined up with Jairo Posa. And then in the sport category of the challenge discipline, we have a grand total of 4 contenders. Luis Souza and Bruno Bonifacio in one car, Leonardo Herman and Vitor Batista in another, Giuliano Bertuccelli and Pietro Rembano in the 3rd car, and then Iago Garcia and Miguel Mariotti in the 4th. And then there's a whole bunch of rookies. The superstar Antonella Bassani is being joined by Letizia Buffoni, who, of course, is very much part of the trophy Porsche category. They now get to join forces. Andrei Gorczynski is alongside Vanya Pontes. Luis Landi and Tom Filio will join up in the number 19 car. Eric Santos and Gabriel Rob join forces in the 38. Paulo Totaro is beside Guga Kima. And then Elsa Feldman Nito, the young son of Elsa Feldman, is alongside Gabriel Casagrancha, the 2-time champion in Stock Car Pro Brazil. That's a great teammate to have. And then Claudio Reina alongside Joao Gonçalves. That is your entire lineup for this incredible Porsche Brazil Endurance Challenge race, brought to you by C6 Bank. Cars are in position, ready to head out onto the circuit for their timed qualifying. This is not going to be the easiest of situations for anybody to cope with. They know exactly how difficult it's going to be from here on out. And obviously, all of the drivers know just how challenging this Estoril circuit is. Formula One fans haven't seen any racing cars go around this place in anger since 1996. But it is still very much an old school classic, and very cool indeed to see the drivers maximising this fantastic venue, and the layout has not actually changed that much since its Formula One since its Formula One days and journey. To be honest with you, there haven't been many configuration changes. Only the tightening of the radiuses of certain corners has really been the biggest change up to the way that this circuit ebbs and flows. On the whole, this circuit is still very much the same racetrack that it was when it was part of the Formula One calendar, so there hasn't really been many difficulties to take into it. Now, of course, in the qualifying session, it's actually been split in half, so the 27 Carrera Cup Challenge cars are going to come out onto the circuit first, and then we will have, the Carrera Cup cars, I should say, will come out first, all 27 of them. And then in the second half of qualifying, the 14 cars that will head out onto the circuit for the challenge discipline will have the circuit to themselves as well. Been a bit of a delayed start for qualifying, unfortunately. Can't have everything. Where would you put it? But everybody is now geared up and ready for the start. The Bruno Campos, Nicolas Costa double act, ready in pit lane, ready to head out onto the circuit for the first time. Could be very interesting indeed to see what this lineup is going to produce for us. Could be a very exciting battle indeed, and we're quite intrigued to see who is going to get the best of it. Could be a fascinating lineup and a great discipline for everybody to work their way forward. Could be an interesting challenge once they get under starters' orders here. But still, the battles will be joined as they run around the circuit in close proximity and flying formation. So the cars lined up in pit road, 27 of them, as I mentioned. There's going to be a handful in the sport category, a handful in the rookie category, and then just the 8 cars that we have in Carrera Cup itself. There are races within races. In fact, there are 6 races going on within the same field of cars, because you've got the difference between Carrera Cup and Challenge. And in all 3 classes, you've got Cup, you've got Sport, and you've got Rookie. So there are 6 categories within the same racetrack. And it's going to be fascinating to see who gets the best of it. We were just keeping a watchful eye there on the 911. That is Martins and Zvepes. So Leandro Martins and Dieter Svepes hoping for a very solid qualifying run. But obviously the weather here being as perfect as it is, 24 degrees Celsius with a track temperature 10 more than that, should give us a really exciting challenge for all of the contenders. Just the final preparations in check then for our last couple of contenders. Frangulis and Bozel basically sharing their car together. Our reporters on the spot managing to grab all the stories. Great to see. All of the information, of course, and all of the latest juicy bits and nuggets of gossip you'll be able to see on the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil Instagram. There you go. You see the reporters trying to get a word with Lino Perez, but it's quite hard for Lino Perez to actually make out what is being said while sat in the cockpit of the car. But Lino is a very candid and a very amiable racer anyway. So I'm sure all of the latest reactions and all the interesting battles that the drivers are yet to give us on the circuit will be summed up quite nicely by him in fluent Portuguese. So all of the drivers getting themselves ready for an exciting qualifying session. And of course, it will set the grid for a 2.5-hour enduro tomorrow on the Estoril circuit. A very tough race circuit to tame anyway. But certainly qualifying is going to make it a very interesting challenge for all of the contenders. They know just how difficult it's going to be to move their way further forward. We're going to have some really exciting battles and some tough opposition from them all as they gear up ready for a very intense showcase out on the course here at Estoril. So 12 minutes on the clock. Drivers head out onto the circuit. And it is now time for each of the individual classes to give us some decent laps out on the circuit. Don't forget, they're splitting everything up to make it a little bit easier for us to keep a handle on everything. And that will definitely give drivers the space and the track time that they need to really maximise this course. Old Formula One fans will, of course, have seen this circuit and they realise that that first corner has had a much more acute radius. It's been tightened in profile, very much so since its Formula One incarnation. And there's just been a couple of reprofiles of various corners around the circuit just to make it a little bit safer, bring it up to modern standards and a little bit more acute detail. Out on the circuit, there is Marcel Müller sharing his car with Enzo Elias for this fantastic endurance challenge. It'll be amazing to see what the team and the combination can do. And the drivers heading out. All 27 of them will head out onto the circuit together for this qualifying session. This is session 1, of course. They all want to make sure they get into the best possible position to move forward on the developmental front. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. So we'll see how everything continues to run and develop. But it will be a tough situation for all of the teams. They know just how difficult it's going to be. Thumbs up and peace signs from Menossi as he heads out onto the course. And that's a very good point. You'll be able to see from the onboards as well who is out on the course at any one time based on the plate that we see on the onboard. We don't have onboards with every car, of course, but on the whole, we'll be able to tell one from t'other. So there is the combination of Müller and Elias. The 544 car already completing the lap to get themselves started for the next lap incumbent onto the home straight. This is a proper old school circuit this, but you can see that we're still in tyre warm-up mode. We are still weaving from side to side trying to generate some temperature into the tyres at this point. We are not really going to be at our best at this stage in the game. So there's still quite a bit to do as everybody is continuously trying to find a little bit more pace in the cars. But certainly in the individual classes, we're having some good battles out there. 8 contenders going at the Cup category. 8 categories also going in for Rookie and 11 going in for the Sport prize for this Enduro. It's quite incredible when you think that we've had a grand total of 41 cars come to battle here in Portugal. Just in the endurance race alone, you'll get a few more once we get to the regular sprint race, which will be here in Portugal as well. Bit of a holiday, really, for the drivers, if you like, because it's been Very interesting to see how all of the teams have adapted to the situation and come up with a completely different situation for all of the teams. But this is a bit of a nice break in the very heavy Portuguese-based schedule. So it'll be really exciting to see how it all continues. But 8.5 minutes on the clock. You're about to start to see these cars really starting to hammer home the pace. The 992 looking very traditional in livery. That's Medeiros and Oliveira in the red and white. Almost a reverse Falcon livery, isn't it? Looks pretty classy out there. They were one of the later teams to confirm their attendance. But it's been really dynamic to see these cars through the practice sessions. It's been really nice to see everybody. So a real situation that the guys want to take into the qualifying session. They want to just try and find that little bit of extra pace. It's going to be nice to see how everybody has been continuing to up the pace and up the ante all the way through. Great race trim all the way through. There's more great battles to focus in on all the way through the battles, all the way through the brigade. We are still very much in peak race trim mode as all of the cars are just trying to get themselves up to speed. There is the initial times coming through. Up to the top spot comes Elsie Feldman, showing that car as he is with Guillermo Salas. A 1:48.0 is the current benchmark then. So expect reasonable times to come in during the course of qualifying. It obviously puts you in a good position, but a 2.5 hour enduro means that the qualifying position isn't the be-all and end-all. You can get a lot more out of these cars. 1:44.3 now finally starting to show the true colours of what these cars can do around this circuit. That is Horta and Freire. So Horta and Freire, Francisco Horta leading that team, of course, alongside William Freire. So good to see them come up to the top spot for the moment. They're going to be challenged, though, because a decent lap time has come in from Messrs Peludo and Hellmeister. So they've done a 1:44.80, half a second's difference between them. And not a bad run either from Medeiros and Oliveira. They managed to come into third position, just in front of the number 15 car. That is Leonardo Sanchez and Attila Abreu. So those two drivers obviously wanting to make a big impact on this qualifying session as well. So all going well at the moment for Carrera. In pit road, obviously watching on with a lot of interest. As one driver got into the car, the other driver sat watch on the sidelines. This is going to be a fast lap from Müller and Elias, I can tell. And it is 1:39.860. They throw down the gauntlet then to the other contenders in this race battle. 6 minutes left in the session, but it's important to showcase what you can really do when the chips are down. Now we're getting some fast time coming through as we have the 88 now getting back into second position. That's Georges Frangoulis along with Pedro Bozel. So they have worked their way through into a good position. What about the 56? They're now in third place. So that is the crew in fantastic fashion. That's Peter Ferter and Diego Nunez. So they've worked their way forward. Well, up into the mix, we've got positions changing all the time. As up into second position now has come the 31 car. That is the one that is being shared by Regatas and Giassi. Considering they were fairly new to the operation as well. They were very late in attending. So excellent to see just how long it's taken them to get up to speed. The answer is not long at all. So Müller and Elias, and then we have Regatas and Giassi, definitely wanting to showcase what they can do. Out of the final turn and coming through the treble one, this is the car that's being shared by Felipe and Duda Barrichello. The 911 comes across the line. We've just seen it go through. That is Martins and Svepes, and they go top. 1:39.285. So a very good lap there from Leandro Martins. Wants to obviously put this as a real highlight for them. Now, this is the car that's been rebuilt after the shunt earlier on in the weekend. So that is Regatas, who's behind the wheel. You're looking at Jeff Giassi in the inset, trying to move his way forward, and they've actually slowed the car right down. Is that the car breaking down, or are they just getting out of everybody's way? Hard to tell sometimes in qualifying. Well, there is the number one, the Tag Heuer machine, Elsie Feldman, sharing that car with Guillermo Salas. So I cannot confirm or deny rumours that if they do well and take the victory, then Tag Heuer might throw in a decent watch for them for winning the event. I can neither confirm nor deny it because I'm only going to guess it. 4 minutes and 10 on the clock. But that time has really shattered the establishment a little bit there. Martins and Svepes going top spot in front of Muller and Elias. And then, of course, the 31 car still in the mix, Regatta Sangiassi, but now down to 5th position because through to 4th has come the number 7 car. That's the one shared by Paludo and Hellmeister. And then Felipe and Duda Barrichello are now 3rd fastest. So good work there from Pippi Bartz, as he is also known on social media, when he tries to keep his Barrichello heritage under wraps. But Pippi Bartz and Duda Barrichello, the two brothers, I think actually they might be cousins, actually, thinking about it. But a fantastic run from the trio. There is the treble one, a maior car, Messrs Barrichello and Barrichello, or should we say Barrichello squared, as they continue on having a fantastic run so far. 3rd position on the 1:39.618. Then it is Paludo and Hellmeister, who are in 4th position in the 7 car. The 31 next up in the mix. 5th position currently for them. Not a bad opening gambit for that team either, Regatta Sangiassi, considering how late they were to confirm their attendance. And then in 6th position at the moment is the 70. You can see that the pace is starting to stack up a bit because we've got fewer and fewer improvements. But that is Salas alongside Rafael Suzuki. So there you can see Pippi Bartz has backed off completely and has allowed the sister car, the number 8 car, to come through. No wonder they are the sister car, because that's Werner Neugebauer, who is sharing that car with Rubens Barrichello, the man who won so many fantastic Grand Prix in his career for Ferrari and Brown GP. So obviously great performances from them. I think that is actually Werner Neugebauer watching on as Rubens Barrichello puts his paces behind the Porsche. And this is a very different car to the one he's used to driving. Of course, he's a champion in Stock Car Pro Brazil, but this is a very different race car. Okay, it's got similar type of horsepower, it's got a similar type of driving style, but it's a very top-heavy car, the Porsche. So you want to really maximise it, and it's not easy to get the most out of it. The time that's set at the moment is a 1:40.2. Of course, Rubens Barrichello is one of the few drivers in this field that has actually driven the old Estoril. A lot of the other drivers will not really remember that same sort of era, but Rubens Barrichello would have raced on the Estoril circuit for Jordan in 1993, 4, 5 and 6. So knows the circuit very well indeed. But of course, it has changed a little bit probably since the last time Rubens Barrichello drove on it. There is the 130, that's the 139 car, isn't it? So that is the blue and yellow machine of Celio. There could be a really interesting challenge for them. And in rookie at the moment, they are, no surprises, the fastest car in that category. When you've got Israel Salman and Celio Brasil at the wheel, it's no major surprise that you're going to see them at the top spot in rookie at this moment in time. Mind you, we've got a sport team that is at the top spot overall now, because the 911 car has come through. Martin Desvepes in a spin. Oh dear, that's gone terribly wrong in the final turn on what was going to be a fast lap. And that car, I'm afraid, is beached. So that's going to be a yellow flag right at the end of the session on the final turn. And that is going to ruin the session for all the drivers that were on a fast time out of the last couple of corners. The 544, Muller and Elias, not going to make an improvement as a result of that yellow flag. And that's devastatingly unfortunate for the combination of Celio Brasil and Israel Salman. And there is Celio Brasil. He watches young Israel Salman make a rare mistake, actually. So big difficulties there. Let's look at it again. Just got on the throttle far too early in the back swapped ends. So easy to do when you want that final lap time. You really want to get the most of it. Unfortunately, just a little bit too eager on the throttle. And that is going to hamper the progress. Not just them, but everybody else as well, because obviously yellow flags are going to come out on that final turn. So any gains that are made on that final lap of the session from each team are going to be deleted instantly. The time ticks down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and that's all she wrote, because unfortunately any time the drivers are currently setting, they're going to be slowed down by the yellow flags anyway. So bitterly disappointing. Try as he might, he's not able to get out of the pits. How about these drones that are actually able to get us very much closer? Sort of the gantry, but excellent work from the teams as they continue to push forward. Across the line, are we going to see one final push for position? I didn't really see if there was any gains there. There shouldn't have been, is the answer, because obviously that final corner would have been covered off by yellow flags. What that does mean, of course, is that Leandro Martins and Dietis Pepes have got the fastest time out of the session. Not bad for a sport team, I have to say. Muller and Elias in second place, then Felipe Bartz and Duda Barrichello in third position in the treble one. A very good run indeed from Linu Perez and Pino Gilles. They've come through for 4th position in the end, displacing the number 7 team crew car of Paludo and Hellmeister. And then the 31 in P6 at this point in proceedings. That is the crew shared by Regalis and Jeff Giassi. And then we have the 199. That's next up behind in 7th place. That's Marcondes and Luis Fazia. And then we have the 70. It's very close in proximity in terms of lap times. Very evenly matched indeed, actually. That's Lucas Salas alongside Rafael Suzuki. And then we have Werner Neugebauer and Rubens Barrichello. That's P9 for them. And in 10th position, the 992 of Jose Maria Maneros and Miguel Oliveira. In the rookies category, well, despite spinning off at the final turn, it is Chelio Basil and Isra Salmen that have the fastest time from that category. Cries of, do they really get to keep that? Could well be coming from the other camps. Campos and Costa are able to go second fastest in the rookie category, not far behind them as well. So a very competitive start to proceedings then from the qualifying session. And great to see that session 1 is topped by a very evenly competitive team. Great as well to see Leandro Martins and Diki Svepes prove their value, prove their worth in that particular run. Very good indeed to see them maximising their opportunities. They wanted to take something strong out of it, and it will be really exciting to see how it goes. So the cars return back to the circuit after a very competitive opening session 1 qualifying session in the Carrera Cup of the C6 Bank Porsche Endurance Challenge Brazil here on the beautiful Circuito Estoril in the heart of Portugal. What a fabulous race circuit this is. I've always wanted the opportunity to come here and see great racing, and Porsche Endurance Challenge Brazil have definitely given me a fantastic race to talk about. 2.5 hours of endurance racing tomorrow from these teams. And many of the regular drivers, of course, joined by a celebrity winger, if you like. But the Porsche and Brazilian aficionados will know that the drivers they've chosen have all been of exceptional quality and candour. We still haven't seen all of them as guest drivers make their way up onto the course. Don't forget, there are still a few big names waiting in the wings to join the challenge drivers. So a nice little bit of competition from the contenders further back. Now, this is Alcifil Benito to the right-hand side, joined by the 2-time Stock Car Pro Brazil champion, Gabriel Casagrande, who has stepped out of his normal Stock Car Pro machine, has kept his normal overalls, I notice, but he's going to be joining Alcifil Benito in the number 1 car. That's going to be really interesting. In the number 83 car, I should say. Normally, it would be the number 1 car, of course, because Alcifil Benito usually carries the number 1, but they've actually decided to choose the tradition of Gabriel Casagrande's regular number, the number 83 that he carries in Stock Car Pro Brazil. So a nice little touch there and a nice little nod to the man who is a 2-time Stock Car Pro Brazil champion and the reigning Stock Car Pro champion as well. So good to see him give himself a great opportunity to move forward. Alcifil Benito must feel that his birthday and Christmas have come early, joining up with someone of the high caliber and quality of Gabriel Casagrande. He must be very happy indeed with that signing. So we've obviously had the drivers come through from the Carrera Cup. Now we're going to get to see the drivers go to battle in the challenge discipline. We're going to see a lot more competitors out on the course joining forces, as we see some of the replays of some of the drivers pushing their way around the circuit in fast felt. We saw Martins and Svepes' car. That's Muller and Elias, who have definitely been very competitive from the outset. We know that Marcel Muller is definitely a driver not to be trifled with in this Porsche Carrera Cup field. And the treble one of Pepe Bartz and Dudu Barrichello. Of course, they are from the same family. Felipe and Dudu Barrichello, both very much dab hands at the Brazilian motorsport, and have definitely followed the bloodline, with Rubens Barrichello actually not able to go as quick as them on this particular occasion. So definitely some great trials and tribulations to come, but great to see the competitors really putting in a good starting procedure from this qualifying session. And that was just the first session for Carrera. We're going to get to see the drivers come out onto the circuit very soon in the challenge discipline. And that's where we've only got 14 cars compared to the 27 that we had in the previous encounter. But you can see already from the replays just how hard these guys are pushing. Look at the front splitter of the 911 car. You can see how low they have set this particular car up. And that is, I don't know if that's a problem with the front splitter or whether that's genuinely how they've decided to set it up, because it looks incredibly low to the ground. They've clearly decided to go very aggressive on setup if that isn't normally the case. But you really get to see the energy travel through these cars when they bounce over these curves. It's not the easiest race circuit to tame this. Very heavy braking into turn one because it's a much tighter hairpin radius compared to what it used to be. It used to be just two flat right-handers that you would storm through pretty much in Formula One with only a drop of one gear. Now you really do have to slow the car down quite demandingly for what is essentially a second gear hairpin. Depending on the formula, you can even drop as low as first gear for that tight hairpin. But certainly it will be an interesting discipline for the contenders. Now, of course, we're going to get ourselves ready for the second session. And of course, once we've had the 2 sessions in Carrera Cup, which means the drivers get their 2 chances to get behind the wheel, then we'll also have the 2 sessions for the contenders in the challenge discipline. So we'll be fascinated to see what the contenders can do the second time around. You tend to find that there could be a real shuffle of the deck. Here's a man worth catching up with, Antonio Felix da Costa, Porsche factory driver in the Formula E team. But what a big moment this is for him. It will be wonderful for him to continue the journey in his native Portugal. No wonder he has decided to come and have a go at this. It's a big change up to Antonio Felix da Costa's schedule, of course, because he's been fully focused and fully committed on Formula E this year. He hasn't even really had much of a hand in World Endurance Championship this year. He's been fully committed to Porsche in Formula E. And it's great to see him continue that journey on in the Porsche Endurance Challenge of Brazil. And great to see him continue that magnificent journey. He's one of the few non-Brazilian drivers in this field, of course, because Antonio Felix da Costa is not Brazilian. He's Portuguese. So he speaks the same language. So it keeps the passion and the statistics favourable in terms of the native Portuguese speakers on the grid. But certainly for someone of the calibre of Antonio Felix da Costa to come and join this magnificent race, it shows you that these guys have to be fairly versatile at times. We've gone are the days, on the whole, really, of the contenders like your Sterling Mosses, your Juan Manuel Fangios, your Jim Clarks or Jackie Stewarts, who could literally jump out of one car into another and be competitive no matter what you gave them. And it has always really been fascinating to me to witness the diversity of these teams and just how difficult it has been on the whole to separate and balance out these differing personalities. You don't get many drivers these days jumping into a different race car every week like you used to, which is a shame. I would have loved to have seen a few more of the top Brazilian aces give this a crack and see what they can do. But a full credit to the likes of Tony Kanaan, to Rubens Barrichello. Feet still, I'm going to go for it. The second session is underway. Guaranteed that it's first and second drivers get in as long as they And Felipe Giafone and Cesar Ramos in front of Pippa Bartz and Dudi Barrichello, the two members of the Barrichello family. Big run wide and a massive twitch coming off the turn. That shows you how easy it is to get the car that little bit loose when you put everything on the line. But so far, so good for the 14. They've got second quickest at the moment after what's already been a bit of a challenging run to start the ball rolling for Carlos Campos and Tony Kanaan. So to put themselves up into second position already, it's a good indication, it's a good sign of what's to come. There's definitely more left on the tangle, so I wouldn't necessarily expect this to be all we're going to get from it. There's definitely more to come. So it could be an interesting situation for all of the contenders. There is Antonio Felix da Costa, having got out of the car in his first session. Let's see how things go in the number one car. This is Guillermo Salas, I believe. Big bouncing over the curbs, just trying to ride the manoeuvre out. We saw in the previous session, of course, a couple of drivers getting that very crossed up, a little bit balanced on the curbs. And you also got to see some real reverence off the turns there, a little bit heady on acceleration off the inside radius. Snaking under braking for the new leaders. That is the number 33 car that's gone to the top spot, I noticed. So a very good challenge indeed there. Very good run from Campos and Costa. They are in the rookie category, don't forget. And they just banged in a 139.8, so they're not waiting around to get the challenge to move forward anyway. Big battles coming in. There is the 70. That's a car we haven't seen much over the course of the broadcast so far. That is Lucas Salas and Rafael Suzuki. I might have actually guessed that that is a Suzuki car, but in livery to what we tend to see from Rafael Suzuki. It's quite the same paint scheme, but certainly very similar in dynamic to what we tend to see from his Stock Car Pro machine. He obviously took a victory earlier in the year. His Crown TMG Racing squad. Now, is that a change for third position? I think it is, as the 77 crew have worked their way forward. That's Francisco Horta and William Ferreira. So they've managed to come up into third position now. I spoke too soon because there's already been a change for P2. That's the 25 car moving forward, I do believe. Or is that the... No, I was right. It is the 25 car. That's Pablo Sousa and Galid Osman who have actually come through into third position, just managing to displace the 14 of Campos and Kanaan. But here again, it's Muller and Elias. Now, Enzo Elias obviously wanting a really solid race in this. He's not a bad pair of hands at all in the fantastic car that we see in Stock Car Pro Brazil. I just wonder if the car behind him, is that Yosemar Junior? Yes, it is. In this beautiful racing livery, you can see that it is the Yosemar Junior car. He's been running that livery since the Interlagos round of the championship a few weeks ago. And this is a beautiful representation and very fitting, actually, since, of course, this year is 30 years since the tragic passing of the late, great Ayrton Senna da Silva. And 29 years ago, almost to the year, sorry, 39 years ago, I should say, almost to the year, it's where this man that is being tributed, Ayrton Senna da Silva, took his first victory on the Circuito Estoril in Formula 1 in the pouring rain back in 1985. And Yosemar Junior's tribute, look at this, it's a gorgeous car, and I'm very jealous of both he and Sergio Romayo, who have definitely come up with the most beautiful car livery of the 2024 season. Any arguments with me, you will lose that argument. There is Miguel Peludo and Alan Hermeister. Really good to see that car, but I think they're going to have some traffic in front of them. That's going to ruin their lap and compromise any chance they would have had of turning this into a competitive run. So that's very frustrating indeed for Peludo and Hermeister. Basically just struck traffic at the wrong moment, so this is going to have to be a lap that they dial down and wind back in. Second place now for Rafael Suzuki, who is sharing that car, of course, with Lucas Salas. So Salas and Suzuki now running in second position after a very tasty lap there, 138.67. They're definitely starting to find a bit more pace than we saw from their practice session earlier on in the weekend. So things are going to be very interesting from here on out as they continue to make such a fantastic run. 3 minutes and 10 seconds to go. So a good run off the turn. Lucas Salas and Rafael Suzuki still putting on a great showcase as they fly their way through the right-hand kink, making their way down to the radius apex once again. Just watching along, Lucas Salas, hoping that Rafael Suzuki is going to give us just as decent at that time. And certainly Rafael Suzuki seems to have clicked with the Porsche Carrera Cup car very quickly indeed. 2 minutes 40 on the timer. Got to make the most of it. Really want to make sure that this car is still going to be at the sharp end when it counts. And a really exciting battle for all of the contenders. They've made it so very, very tidy as they run through. 2 minutes 25 left on the timer. Really got to find some proper credit for Rafael Suzuki lumping this very heavier car than the one he'll be used to, I think, the Porsche Carrera Cup car. And of course in Stock Car Pro Brazil you have a booster. You don't have that in Carrera Cup, so this will be a little bit frustrating to a certain degree for Rafael Suzuki, but he's certainly making the most of it. He's got a little bit more time to play with, I would estimate, as well. What's he going to do across the line? Can he go quicker than a 1:38.671? The answer is no. He retains his previous best time as the one, but up to third position has come the number 1 car of Guillermo Salas and Elsie Feldman. So the Tag Heuer car definitely moving further forward. There is young Dudu Barrichello, who has a very big family support here, because of course Rubens is behind the wheel of the 8 car and Pipe Bartz is his teammate in the treble 1. So there's a big Barrichello family swing here. Still they rage on off the final turn. Look how hard Marcel Muller's teammate Enzo Elias is pushing off the final corner. As we have a change for the top spot, Paludo and Hellmeister have gone up to the top spot. Was that enough for Elias to go top? It wasn't. P4, just in behind Guillermo Salas. Oh, and there's a spinner. That's the worst possible position to go up as well, because that's beached. And it's twice now across the sessions. Let's see what's happened. Going through the chicane. Oh, this looks like it could be a separate incident, actually. Oh, my goodness. Bits of carbon fibre shedding off Thiago Camilo and Rodrigo Melo's car. So big problems there for the 29. And I'm afraid the Fizbet car looking a little bit lackadaisical. Now let's see what's happened. Too much speed carried through the first part, and it's a pirouette around, and unfortunately the car is beached. So that is terribly unfortunate, and that's why we've got a car stationary there in the middle of the course. So again, that's going to be a yellow flag at the worst possible position on the racetrack. That's really going to compromise the laps that are coming in at the end of this session. We're watching Jose Maria Moreiros along with Miguel Oliveira, the 2 drivers sharing this car in the final 10 seconds of the session. But talk about that for the top spot. Perfect timing for Miguel Paludo and Alan Hellmeister. They are the fastest pairing at the moment, in front of Lucas Salas and Rafael Suzuki, and Elsie Feldman alongside Guillermo Salas. Time is up, by the way. Werner Neugebauer and Rubens Barrichello. P4 at the moment from Marcel Muller and Enzo Elias. And then of course the 25 car of Paulo Sousa and Galid Osman, P6. And leading rookie, leading sport, is in 7th position, and that is the car of Peter Vetter and Diego Nunez. Getting out of the car, that's a very tasty qualifying session. Finished up for most of the teams. They can be very proud of what they've achieved in this one. So fastest time there in class for Sousa and 25, sorry, that is the fastest team of Paulo Sousa and Galid Osman in the rookies table. But it looks as though we've just had a displacement, as I think the rookie team of Bruno Campos and Nicolas Costa have just managed to edge in ahead of one of the sport teams. So we've got the rookie teams now starting to outpace the sport teams right at the bitter end, as the final couple of changes are going to be completed. A big challenge out of the final turn of the deck. On the whole, drivers are just trying to complete that last little extra bit of their qualifying time. It's been very tight as they run their way through. But that is it for the 2 Carrera Cup qualifying sessions that we've got so far. And very different results when you put different drivers into the same cars. That's what I love about the Porsche Challenge Cup. You really do have to come up with the goods. All these cars are built to run equal. There are no teams. They're all run by separate engineers and individuals in-house. It all comes down to the preparation and the quality of all of these individual races. Good run there from the 31. They can be very impressed considering how late they were to the party. Marcos Regadas and Jeff Giassi. There was the car that was losing bodywork, Rodrigo Melo and Thiago Camilo. I'm not entirely sure what happened to that particular machine, why the bodywork would shed. And there is the combination that we saw earlier on, having a bit of a mixed bag of it. That's the 31 of Marcos Regadas and Jeff Giassi. So an excellent run from the two drivers. They've actually worked a lot in terms of core pace. They've got something to take into the 2.5-hour race tomorrow, that's for sure. So looking through some of the replays of the Carrera Cup, the two sessions that we've had just prior to this. Miguel Paludo and Alan Hellmeister, the fastest overall in that particular group qualifying session. And certainly very impressive with it to see just what kind of pace they were able to produce. They timed it right with the traffic. They managed to make good use of what opportunity they did get. And so the fastest time from session 2 is very much the reward for that one. A very good run as well from this particular team. Lucas Salas and Rafael Suzuki, a good combination. Suzuki acquitting himself very well in the Porsche Carrera Cup car. Never easy when you're used to one type of race car and one type of race car alone, and that's what you do with everything. And you managed to come through in fine style. Our pit lane reporters still trying to grab all of the stories. That is, I do believe, young Barrichello. I think that might be Pippi Barretts, who we are having a chat with there down in pit lane. It's certainly a really exciting challenge for all of the drivers. The two Carrera Cup sessions definitely giving us a lot to work with, and there's a lot more to come because, of course, we've still got the two qualifying sessions left to discuss from the Challenge Cup. They'll come out onto the circuit, and they're actually going to have a little bit easier a time of it in terms of traffic because there's not 27 cars on the grid in the smaller discipline. What you get instead is 14 cars, so you're going to get a much easier time of it. That's the main thing and the best advantage of how it all continues working. But a really exciting battle still to play for here at the Estoril circuit. After two sessions, we really get to see two different drivers make a very different race car handle. So we're going to see how that continues to play out. So really excited to see how it's all continued out. And now we've got session 3 about to get underway for Carrera Cup. Then we'll get 3 sessions in total, of course, across the 3 disciplines. Running slightly behind schedule, of course. But we now get to see all of the teams. And then, of course, they nominate their third the driver for the third session based on what they decided in terms of their pre-session preparation. So I don't think every team is going out for this one. I think it's only a combination of the final couple of teams that have made the cut, as it were, to make the final charge forward. But that will all become very clear very shortly. Beautiful skyline over the Circuito Estoril. Great to see everybody in fine form and great motivation to move their way slightly further forward. It's been really great to see everybody come out with the goods. Now we're going to send them out straight away. Oh, careful! A couple of teams going out of pit lane, sending the different teams out in the hope that they're not going to clatter into each other, but it was just a little bit cheeky there, a little bit of a difficulty. So fortunately, I think we just about got away with all that. But certainly an interesting little moment, a little hiccup there, and a tough situation for all of the contenders for the moment. And they're lining up at the end of pit lane, ready to send us out onto the circuit once again. So some quite exciting moments then for a few of the teams here. They've got some good battles once again still to come from. But let's see how it's all going to continue and how each of the teams are going to continue making steady progress all the way through. So it's been a tall order so far. Tricky to see how everybody's going to make a good solid impression on the battles thus far. Certainly everybody heading in the right direction in terms of the preparation. Drivers clambering aboard, get themselves out for the final session. You see, look how close it's been in practice. That's Melo and Camillo. They clearly must have had a little bit of contact there during their previous sessions. This is a replay of earlier on. It's the weight transfer from one corner to the next of the Campos and Canarm car. Chatting to Rodrigo Melo down in pit lane. Good to see him continuing his Porsche Brazil journey. And sadly, we are not getting all of the word from this. If you're fluent in Portuguese, you can also keep an eye on what's happening in the Portuguese main feed. But I'm sure all of the reaction from all of the drivers will still be put onto the website, which of course is easily translatable these days. But a really exciting challenge from all the contenders. And great to see how tricky things have played out from the first two qualifying sessions. That third qualifying is definitely going to separate the wheat from the chaff. So we're going to get to see this final Carrera Cup session, I do believe. I think they only get 3 per championship battle. And of course, Carrera Cup, very much still working on a similar principle to what they do for the endurance battle, as they do for the sprint. So good to see just how tight it is amongst everybody, wanting to continue the very strong displays. There is the car that's Attila Abru is sharing with Leonardo Sanchez. That's the car that's getting ready to head out onto the course. It's been already a fairly intriguing challenge for those two. Of course, they won't be heading out onto the circuit just yet. We need to wait for them when the challenge cars come out, and that will be after session 3. Cars back into position again. Messrs. Dudu and Pippi Barrichello. So great to see these two great teammates working together. They've actually run in the Maior colours, which is also what the sister car, the number 8 machine, is running. That is the car that's being piloted by not just Werner Neugebauer, but also Rubens Barrichello. We just saw there briefly the Tech Bond machine of Cefali and Guedes, both hoping for another solid and sturdy run in qualifying. They have kept it fairly under the radar so far, but I do get the feeling that there's more coming from a few of these contenders. So we'll see what these final few minutes of qualifying gives us in terms of a stationary order for the race tomorrow. Of course, this is what we're really getting geared up and excited about, the 2.5-hour endurance race. Our pit lane reporter has found the man himself, Rubens Barrichello. He is down there in pit lane. Great to see him in the Maiorta colours. Very appropriate for him these days. He is still so in love with the world of motor racing, and it doesn't matter how many times you see Rubens Barrichello, no matter which car he gets into, no matter which championship he is battling away, he still has that vibe, that verve, that love of what he is doing. And they say you can take racing out of the driver, but you can't take the driver out of racing. They just absolutely adore this sport, and Rubens Barrichello has been a very significant part of the motor racing fabric and makeup for the last 35 years, through the junior Formulae into Formula One at the age of 21, 1993, with the Jordan team, stayed with them for 4 seasons before switching to the Stewart operation, was there for 3 years before becoming teammate to Michael Schumacher at Ferrari in the year 2000. The next 6 years would see him with the Pratzing horse before moving across to Honda for a new challenge. That was a very successful one for 3 years of racing. Came with a podium at Silverstone in 2008. And then, of course, the now infamous story of Braun GP taking over the team and buying out Honda for £1 to make that incredible story happen in 2009 to give Barrichello one final shot at the world title. You can all see that fantastic documentary that's been made about them, which is now currently streaming, of course, on Disney+. And I have to say, Rubens Barrichello's contribution to that was very exceptional indeed and very candid. He didn't back away from his true emotions at the time. And I've always found that that's one of the great things about Rubens. You know, his storytelling skills, his personality, his acumen for bringing his passion to the world of motor racing. He's never been afraid to show emotion. He's never been scared or doubtful in terms of how it's going to affect his image, his brand reputation. None of that. Scrub that. Rubens is just so passionate about his racing, and he will never give anything less than 1,000% of his heart, his soul, his passion, and his ability to this incredible craft. And it's so wonderful to see that he still has that amazing love and devotion for racing, for the fans that share his passion like he does, and just for athletic competition and discipline in general. He is just such a wonderful competitor, a wonderful guy, and great to see just how much excitement and enthusiasm he brings to the party. So as everybody gears themselves up ready for another exciting bout on the course, we're going to get everybody into position and ready. So all of the cars getting ready for another bout onto the course, the Carrera Cup contenders again for the third time. The third and final time, I do believe this time. There is the Monedos and Oliveira car. The number 7, that was quickest in the previous session. That is the team from Beludo and Helmeister. And of course, some great performances too from this pairing. What on earth are we going to see when the checkered flag goes down on the 80 crew? They've got Simkovic and Nelson Piquet Jr. behind the wheel. That'll be exciting. Marcondes and Razzia. And then there is the number 3 as well. Definitely one to watch out for. Felipe Giafone and Cesar Ramos, who are also wearing the same colours as the Barrichello family. 77. Expect exciting times from Francisco Horte and William Freire. So we've got a handful of drivers that have worked their way forward and done an amazing job. I think I can see Yosemar Junior's car there in the mix as well, of course. Very competitive through the course of the 2 sessions, and really thrilling and a real honour to see Ayrton Senna's helmet design incorporated into the livery of that particular car of Yosemar Junior and his stablemate Sergio Romeo. So everybody waiting for the lights to go out at the end of the pit lane, and then they can head out onto the circuit one final time in order to continue this development, this journey moving forward. It'll be a really interesting combination of cars to head out onto the circuit once more, and we'll get to see some really exciting banter from them as they continue to make the progress. Titus Vepe giving a little bit of coaching, I believe, to his stablemate there, or is it the other way around? It could well be the other way around. We never really can tell who's in the car and who's out of it. But certainly for Leandro Nunez, it's been Leandro Martins, I should say. It's been a very competitive race battle out there. Alce Feldman Nito is now in the car, and it's his teammate Gabriel Casagrancha who's chatting away to share the experience. I wonder how much fun he's having driving this Porsche Carrera Brazil car. It's very different to the Stock Car Pro machine he's used to. Back into the car of the number 111 Maior car. And so the Barrichello family is supporting every member of that fledgling little clan of amazing racers and speed junkies and speed freaks. They've all been absolutely obsessed with the world of motor racing since Rubens came into it. With some terrific battles, the cars lining up side by side there in close formation. That's Werner Neugebauer and Rubens Barrichello's car in the 8 and the 29. That is the car that we saw shedding body work a little earlier on. Rodrigo Melo and Thiago Camilo sharing the number 29 car. Last couple of checks coming in. I think there was a slight delay in the procedure. I'm not sure whether that was protocol or whether that was an issue of some kind, but certainly a delayed run for this particular qualifying session again. And now they're heading out onto the course. The green flags fly, and so 12 more minutes of qualifying as the drivers continue on. Heading out onto this Estoril circuit once again with that ridiculously tightened radius compared to what it used to be. But I have to say part of that was necessary in that redesigning, because the pit lane exit now travels all the way down to the exit of that first radius with a much slower acceleration speed to avoid dramas on the pit lane exit. I can remember watching in Formula 1 back in the day when the pit lane exit was halfway down the pit straight and you were desperately trying to get back up to full speed before the leaders came through in a very fast and competitive run, and you just can't make those risks anymore. All sorts of battles. You only got to think back to Gerhard Berger on this circuit in Formula 1 in 1993. Came straight out of the pit lane, was using far too much throttle, got on the grass, the car kicked out, and it spewed straight across the racetrack out of the pit lane. How everybody missed him on that day is one of the modern miracles I can't explain with science. But certainly, in terms of the safety features that needed to be reviewed, it was pretty instantaneous by everyone. Then they really realised, hang on a minute, there's something about this that isn't quite right. We need to go back to the drawing board, come up with a better strategy, a faster, safer solution. That's exactly what they've done with the reprofiling of this first corner. Rather sadly, there's been several Formula 1 laps done on this circuit at Estoril for various test sessions in various guises, but sadly, none under race trim since 1996. That is a bit of disappointment when we consider just how popular this Estoril circuit is. The trouble is, it's now not the only major race circuit in Portugal. You've also got the Portimao circuit, the Autódromo de Algarve, which of course could well have been a very interesting choice and lineup for this particular championship. I think they might get the chance to do that in the future, I hope. 10 minutes to go in the session. And so once again, the teams are warming themselves up, getting themselves into the right frame of mind, the right position. They want to make sure they're in good stead to continue on. As the number 27, Yosimar Junior car, sharing that, as I mentioned earlier on, with Sergio Romeo. Good to see him get himself into a better position. There is the 911, still pushing on for more. That's the Andrades and Dietis Peppers. I'm still a little concerned about the position of that front splitter. I'm not sure if that's just a really increased tension and flex with a very low ride height to the front end of the car, or whether that's the component actually starting to break, and there's not really a lot that the team can do about it until it does. So Martins and Svepes trying to complete what would be the first major flying lap, hoping that it's going to convert into something pretty special. So out of the final turn. And onto the main straight once again. It's a very long and complex straight this, as we see the number 7 car. That is the one that was on the top of the tables a short while ago in the second session. Miguel Peludo and Eliel Meister. And then the number 1 car just in behind them. That's Guillermo Salas and Elsie Feldman driving the number 1 Tag Heuer car. Great to see that livery still resplendent in Porsche colours. And there is the team that was at the top spot, Peludo and Helmeister. Trying not to get caught out into the traffic. They really want to make sure that they've got a sustainable opportunity here. They want the lap to be as consistent and as even as possible. Sadly, my timing screen appears to have crashed out, so unfortunately everything else is going to have to be what we see on your screen. Bit of a slow run off the hairpin for one of the competitors, and that's really held up Peludo and Helmeister. But it's also not giving them a lot of room to play with here, so coming right off the racing line, making it very clear, I'm passing you, don't try and pass me back. This is important now, it means something. Unfortunately, I think he's going to get hoodwinked here, down into the first corner. Now he's going to back out of it, that's fair enough. I mean, you can try and outbrake me if you want, says the car in front. Meanwhile, there is the 31, still trying to find that little bit of extra eked out pace. It's not easy, I have to say, for Regalis and Gyasi. They didn't have a lot of preparation. So it will be fascinating to see how this all continues to trigger out. 7 minutes left of this third and final session for Carrera Cup. There'll be 3 sessions left, of course, for the challenge battle. But this has very much been about making sure that we're in a good position at a good time. The pace has been very even. 7 minutes for all of the remaining competitors to try and get some times on the board. And as you can see, the 31 has been the initial pace setter, Regalis and Gyasi, hoping for a solid run. Now, this is the car that we saw spinning at the end of the second session. We were rather hoping that we're going to get a better time out of the blocks, and so far, it looks as though the 84 of Farah and Abate has been able to do just that. So good to see Gustavo Farah along with Rodrigo Abate, sorry. You're going to continue to make that pace. There is the Manossi and Da Costa car. So Antonio Felix Da Costa sharing this one, the pink Porsche, the 185 car, number 85. But the sponsorship coming from the one brand. So is it going to be enough for the top spot? Well, I tell you what, it's been very fast over the sharp end. That is Manossi and Da Costa going up to second. A very solid effort. And Antonio Felix Da Costa in the car by the look of it. Sergio Romeo is in the Yosimar Junior Senna Tribute livery car. Elias in first position. You can always tell who's in the car based on the graphic, having them in capitals when they're in the car, in lowercase when they're not in the car. So Enzo Elias behind the wheel then of the 544. Second position at the moment. William Flair has managed to get that car right up into second position ahead of Antonio Felix Da Costa on a 1:38.972. Good work from him so far, jumping into this Porsche, trying to be competitive. That's over the edge of track limits, surely for Enzo Elias. With 5 minutes and 20 on the clock, he's got to be careful. He does not want to flirt with that position too often. Working his way through the S's, just trying to tidy this run up. Certainly doesn't want to push it over the limit. Not the easiest of cars to turn in. I'm aware of that. But you certainly don't want to be stretching the mark too high. So definitely good work at the moment from Elias. Can he just tidy this? Oh, the back end! Did you see the rotation? The back end of the car flirting with the limit of what that car can do as the back end stepped out. Oh my goodness, I want to see that again on a replay. Elias really couldn't have pushed that car any further over that limit without a big accident following. Goodness me, that was terrifying as he just locked the back end so much power that he booted in. Meanwhile, this is the hot run from Rodrigo Melo and Thiago Camilo, trying to get into that top three themselves. How close is it at the sharp end of this day? As my goodness, so many top competitors trying to find that little bit of extra to extract from the car. But it is mighty tricky as they continue on. So no, it's going to be a fantastic run and a good battle for them as they continue forward. 4 minutes remaining, but still very tight. Now, Duda Barrichello has just popped the car up into second position. Much better run from Sergio Romeo. What a wonderful sight it is to see the Senna colours on that car. Now up at the top spot after a great run from Sergio Romeo. He's just done a 1:38.458. 21.3 in the first sector, so this lap is definitely not as competitive as in previous sessions. But excellent run so far from Sergio Romeo. Great to see this beautiful Senna liveried Porsche now up at the top spot. Duda Barrichello's going well too. 1:38.64 from him in the second session. And Enzo Elias has been able to get Marcel Muller's regular motor up into third position. But this is so fitting to see. 39 years after the maiden Grand Prix victory of Ayrton Senna da Silva on this very circuit, the Senna helmet colours are continuing in 5-star. But now who's taken over the top spot? I was going to say Werner Neugebauer, but it's only very brief because Enzo Elias has come up with an even quicker time in the 5:44 car. So Werner Neugebauer very nearly puts Rubens Barrichello into pole position, but has not quite been able to finish that off because Enzo Elias was on an even quicker time. 19.1 for the first sector, 48.2 for the second. They backed off in the first sector of this lap, so they're not going to go anywhere near the speed. But Enzo Elias puts the 5:44 into provisional pole position from this third rotation. Neugebauer, second position. Sergio Romeo in the Senna colours, third place. Not bad for a sport driver, I tell you. Very exciting stuff, and it continues on. Very tight a pace. Now we've got the purple Porto car. Still trying to make big guns. Oh, that's way over track limits, unfortunately. You've got to try and keep all four wheels on the race circuit. Failing that, obviously, as long as two wheels are still on the white line of the black stuff. See, that's over track limits as well. Big pushes from Campos and Costa here. That'll be triggered. They'll investigate that on race control. If this lap ends up being a quicker one, then the time will be deleted. But it just shows you how much pressure these guys now find themselves under in this third and final Carrera Cup qualifying bout. Obviously, all the results of this will be handed out to the various respective people at the end of the session. Very fast, but again, just going over that line, you don't want to push it too far over track limits. You don't want to risk the chance of losing laps. Is that top three? It's P1. Goodness me, great run from Costa as he goes top spot on a 1:38.091. But how legal is that lap going to be? We saw at least two, possibly even three traverses of track limits. That could get taken away from him depending on how tight the ruling is going to be on Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil. It could well be the edge of the track. I wonder if it might be the edge of the curve, in fact. So he might just be able to get away with that one. And here is the number one. This is the Salas and Feldman car. Are we going to see that charge our way further forward? Well, they're just about to start the flying lap. They've done a 1:40.257. So they're still a good 2 seconds off the pace. Don't expect that to last. They've gone into the last lap. They've left it very late to get a flying lap in. But as long as they can string the corners and the sectors together, they should still have a really exciting battle from all of the contenders as they run through. There's the treble one. So there is the Barrichello twins continuing on their way. Pippi and Dudo still having a very solid opening gambit as stablemates as well as teammates. So the final 20 seconds, anybody that crosses the line in the next 17, 16 seconds will be able to start one final flying lap. Anybody who crosses it after that, the session is over. So it really is now or never for any of the teams that are on a flying lap at this point. They've really got to maximise it and do something special with it. Elias and Müller are on a final flying lap. The time ticks down to 0. We are time up. So what final positions can be gained? Well, the Barrichellos have bailed out of their lap. They're not going to make an improvement. Several other teams bail out of their lap. The thing is, once you know on the first sector, the second sector, if the car is not doing what you want it to, if it's not giving you the performance you need, you may as well just bail out, save the tyres, save the car, bring it back in. These two, however, definitely trying to push for a more competitive time than they've already bailed in. This is Adsi Feldman and Guillermo Salas. And this is really very much now or never for the team that's on a 1 minute 40.257. Not good enough is their verdict. They know they can get a little bit more out of the car than that. They come off the turn, and surely this could be a lap time that's going to put the number 1 Tag Heuer car right up towards the sharp end. What can they do? They've left it till late to do it. Well, they haven't found the pace they wanted. It's still not quicker than a 140.25. So very unfortunate indeed for the number 1 Tag Heuer Porsche. That's really rare to see that car that far down the order. They just haven't quite got the pace nailed together to come up with the goods for a decent run. But certainly it's been a very competitive one for the other teams around. Some teams still trying to complete their fastest laps. They are on their final tours of the circuit. But another fantastic run in the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil field in the endurance category. Enzo Elias has done the business for the 544 team. That's exactly what they were hoping for. And a really solid and competitive challenge from Enzo Elias. They can be really happy with that. What a sensational performance. And he will share the car, of course, with Marcel Müller over the course of this weekend. 2.5 hours of racing tomorrow. Well, you really get the sense that this is this is even more than a little jolly holiday between the teams and drivers in this particular category. There's definitely more to come from them, and they're really enjoying and soaking up the atmosphere that the Estoril circuit will give them here in Portugal. So 3 Carrera Cup sessions, done and dusted then in qualifying. Not everybody's had a good day of it by the look of it. As into the pit lane to finish off comes the 84 car. That's the one that's already had a little bit of an adventure or two out on the course. That is the car that's being shared by Gustavo Fada and Rafael Abate. But a really exciting end to a fantastic battle out on the course. Great to see everybody putting in such a great display. Here is the rundown. Some good performances from all 3 of the Carrera Cup battles. So we've had the Carrera Cup rookies, Cup and Sport drivers all give us great entertainment across the 3 sessions, and it's definitely been a very different result across all 3 sessions as well. Some good progress from all the teams, though. They know exactly what they've been able to produce. Obviously, once the checkered flag has come down on the session later on, all of the results will be posted. They'll be published. And if there are any amendments that need to be made heading into the grid tomorrow, no doubt you'll find out about it on the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil website, which of course you can access wherever you are in the world, Porsche GT3Cup.com.br. And that is where you'll be able to get everything downloaded. And of course, thanks to the modern miracle of the average search engine, you can probably get it translated into your own language at the request of the click of a button. It's a very good tool these days. So no matter where you're watching from, you'll be able to get right to the finger of the pulse of the button of this incredible cars and this magnificent championship. Really great to see these guys taking on a second driver and bringing them up to speed and making such a difference, because not everybody's going to get up to speed with this car very quickly. It's a bit like when you ask professional racing drivers to go and have a muck about in rental cars. They're very different machines compared to what they're used to racing in. So it's always been very interesting to see how the differences of acumen as race drivers come through. There's always going to be that real disparity between the 2 race cars. So you're never quite going to get the same experience if you drive one car over another. So it's always been really exciting to see how the different drivers cope with the differing temperaments of these machines. We've certainly had a lot of thrills and spills from the Carrera Cup cars. Now we're going to get 3 sessions from the Challenge competition, which is going to be a lot less hectic, actually. We've had 27 cars try and share the race circuit through the Carrera Cup qualifying sessions. Now only 14 of them are going to be sharing the deck this time, as the competitors finally bring their cars back in. It's time for session 1 of the Challenge category. And as we said before, just 14 cars in this one. Caio Castro and Matias Iolo are in the number 22. The number 66 will see Sada Kleiter and Fabio Carbone. Miguel Gaetano and Joao Bossa in the 166, and those are the only three Challenge class cars in the mix here of the Challenge Cup. Luis Souza and Bruno Bonifacio are joined by Leonardo Sherman and Vitor Batista in the 2 and the 23 cars, respectively. The 44 will see Gianello Bertuccelli and Pietro Robano in that particular machine. And then the fourth and final entrant of the sport category, the number 808 car, that is Iago Garcia and Miguel Mariotti. Expect one team certainly to challenge for the top spot in one of the three sessions, because we're going to see in the rookie category the talented lady driver, just 18 years of age, Antonella Bassani, who will be sharing her car with a very talented trophy driver, Leticia Buffoni, the only all-female team. As I say that, speak of the devil, here is Leticia Buffoni, who steps up from her trophy campaign to join Antonella Bassani in the endurance battle. Great to see her. She's obviously been a great exponent of the Porsche Carrera Cup paddock as a trophy driver. And there are a handful of trophy drivers here that are being given the chance to step up to the endurance battle, and a lot of them are finding that this is an ultimate learning progress. They really wanted to produce something pretty special and quite spectacular as they continue their iteration, their working progress. And Leticia Buffoni is definitely a really progressive driver, making steady progress every time she heads out onto the course, definitely making some good progress as she continues her journey in motorsport. And she's going to learn so much being partnered with Antonella Bassani, who of course is already a race winner in the Porsche Sprint Cup Challenge of Brazil earlier this year, and already a champion a couple of times over in this category. Considering she's only 18, that is monstrously impressive. And once again, a really good indication that hopefully Antonella Bassani is the kind of driver we're going to be seeing in the future, representing Brazil in a number of sports car championships. Hopefully, of course, with the Porsche badge still firmly on her race suit. But these 14 teams are definitely going to have a tough time of it. Now, I was going through the rookie category to tell you who was behind the wheel of each of them. I've already mentioned that Antonella Bassani is joined by Leticia Buffoni. In the number 17 car, you're going to see Andrei Gajinski alongside Vanya Pontes. The 19 car is going to see Luis Dandy and Tom Filio. Then the 38 will see Eric Santos alongside Gabriel Robe. The 45 car is going to be Paulo Totaro and Guja Lima. And then we have Elsie Feldman Nito, the young son of Elsie Feldman, alongside Gabriel Casagrancha, the two-time Stock Car Pro Brazil champion. And then Claudio Reina will join up forces with Joao Gonçalves. So as I said, only 14 cars to head out onto the circuit for the challenge sessions. So in theory, we should be able to get through those three sessions without too much delay or hesitation. So it's definitely going to be an interesting conclusion to the battles. And we'll see some really exciting, really feisty competition to all of the contenders out there. Loving the shots from the drone. They really do get us closer to the action. And I'm loving the fact that nowadays, particularly in Brazilian motorsport competition, that's where the trend in the coverage and the broadcast operation has gone, very much to these drones that follow the action. We've had it for quite some time now in both Stock Car Pro Brazil and in the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil as well. And it's been really great to see that they've gone for the innovation. So really exciting to see how it has all continued. We're going to see more great action. Here they come, out onto the circuit then. We've waited long enough for these challenge cars to make their way out. And once more, across these three sessions, they'll get 12 minutes each behind the wheel. And we'll get an indication as to which of the 14 team combinations are going to be the most prolific, the most in terms of prowess that we'll get to see out on the course. All of the contenders now getting themselves out onto the course. Looks like Miguel Mariotti is having a bit of a doorstop interview with Our Lady on the Spot. I'm interested to see what Miguel Mariotti comes up with on this, because there's only 4 sport class cars in the mix here. Iago Garcia is alongside Miguel Mariotti. And then we've got the 3 challenge cars as well of Gal Castro and Matias Lloro, Sara Gleiter and Fabio Carboni, and then Miguel Gaetano and Joao Possa. And they'll be sharing the 3 cars. So it is going to be a very thin playbook for this qualifying session, these 3 rotations, but they have to be given the same amount of time on the circuit to qualify as their Carrera Cup counterparts. And of course, once we go to the 2.5-hour race tomorrow, all the cars will be on track together. So that's where the real challenge is going to come in. 41 cars will take to the Circuito Estoril. Obviously, it's going to be a rolling start, and I'm fairly sure that the grid is going to be separated into 2 halves, essentially. you're going to get to see a really interesting dynamic between the two categories. There is the treble 9. That is the car Claudio Reina shares with Joao Gonçalves. Very distinguishable by the fact it's yellow, white, and light baby blue. Good run from the competitors coming off the turn there as well, off the final corner. Still, you're getting to see them as they weave from side to side, trying to get a little bit more temperature into the tyres. They just want to make sure they're in the right frame of mind to do that. Obviously, always very competitive at this sharp end of the dais. So let's see how this is going to continue to play out. Just a couple of little battles into the first corner. Do not expect to see the really bombastic lap times again from these cars. Initially, you're going to see them when they warm up the tyres and brakes to the optimum. Confidence and faith in these cars going in. My only experience of Porsche Carrera Cup from a driver's perspective is when I fire up iRacing or Assetto Corsa Competizione or similar like that to try and get an understanding of how these cars behave. But one thing I will say is that there's a progressive element to learning these cars. They only really perform at their best in a qualifying stint on the third or fourth lap. You're not going to get much more out of it than that. So you really have to pace yourself with these cars. Just do the work to warm the car up, get it dialed in, put it into the right position to make sure that it all comes good. But do not expect miracles straight out of the blocks. There is a lot of opportunity to get these cars to behave accordingly, but you have to be patient with them. It's a progressive journey to move your way up that rank. So they climb up the hill once more. An interesting challenge for them as they continue their charge forward. The number 22 there pushing for a little bit more. Caio Castro and Matthias Fioro are the ones sharing this particular car. The black machine with a little bit of golf insignia. There's a real retro vibe to this particular car. I've always really liked the fact that we've got 41 Porsches out there. They've all got their unique individual styles. There's not a single one of them that looks ugly or irritating in terms of the portfolio and the branding and the livery of the car. They've all got their own individual and unique personalities, always really pleasing to the eye. But then, when was the last time a Porsche Carrera Cup car looked rubbish? 22, braking hard there and snaking under braking. But Caio Castro and Matthias Fioro, the two that are sharing that particular machine, they really were floating with it under the brakes there. As there is the 72 car, that's the gold and purple machine that, again, we've become quite used to seeing in this particular competition. Antonella Bassani sharing that car with Letizia Buffoni. It's Antonella Bassani who is currently behind the wheel of it. That Mobile One livery in gold insignia. A very cool race car, and they really have brought the special livery for this team out for this event. They want a golden trophy at the end of it. And they certainly want to make sure they get there in the gold fashion. Antonella Bassani, definitely one to watch for pole position in this particular category. As I mentioned before, only 14 cars geared up to go to battle for it. In fact, I can only see 11 of them out on the course. There may be a couple of drivers missing, but we certainly should have 14 cars going for the pole position. I don't know if they've had a couple of issues, some of them, and so are a little bit delayed, but certainly 14 cars have gone around the course in practice at least. Alex Santos and Gabriel Roba sharing the 38. Look at how aggressive the drivers are needing to be through that long sweeping section towards the end of the lap. And in this final hairpin, this is where we've seen a couple of drivers either come close to lose it or actually lose it. So far, clean as a whistle still for Antonella Bassani, trying to close up there on the black and Gulf livery as they continue on their charge forward. So up to the top spot at the moment, it is the 38 car of Santos and Roba. 141.169 for them at this moment in time. Up to second place, by the way, has come the 22 car. That is the machine of Caio Castro and Matthias Fioro that we saw before. And Antonella Bassani third on a 142.195, sharing that car with Letizia Buffoni. Now there is the white Porsche coming towards us. Not many just simple white Porsches, especially when you consider that the rest of it is in jet black. That is the 66 car. Sadek Leiter is driving and sharing that car with former single-seat ace Fabio Carboni. So they work their way up the climb again through the S's. Very tight and fiddly this part of the course, especially in a Porsche when the front end is so heavy. You've got to have such an incredible opportunity. You've got to really work the car hard to push your way further forward. So still, they rage and battle on. 5:13 on the clock. Still a lot to come from these cars, and still a lot more to come on the times as well. Just to give you an idea, all the way down to Reina and Gonçalves on a 1:49.546. You still got a few teams that have yet to really put on their best display. Snaking under braking again from the 66 there. Just trying to make a little bit more come up to the surface. Sadek Leite and Fabio Carbone. This is a good lap, by the way, from Antonello Bassani. I think we could see something now. 1:41s are where the big lap times are coming. And Antonello Bassani's still quite early on in the run at 1:42.195, so over a second back. So when you think this is the lap that could well put it to the top, how close was that, flirting with the gravel on the far side? So 4.5 minutes on the clock. Antonello Bassani pushing. Is it enough to improve? It is, but only to a 1:42.0. We're still not flirting with 1:41 territory. Oh, and off in the final turn. Big spin. Well, that's gone very badly wrong. Try and make out who that is. Trying to get out of the gravel is just the first task. Now, who is that that's gone very deep in there in the final turn? And just about made it out of the gravel. How about that for saving the bacon? It's Landi and Filio. So big moment there, unfortunately, for the team. The pairing of Tom Filio sharing that car with Luis Landi. But I have to say, full credit to getting that car out of the gravel, because it should be easy. They're not the only ones to have gone through the gravel, though. That was a bit scary. Several drivers have actually gone through and avoided the big spin, but not everybody is out of harm's way on that one. So still 3.5 minutes on the timer, so still plenty of time for these drivers to find a little bit more pace from the car. And of course, they will have 2 more sessions after this one to try and make some gains. And when the sister drivers, or the compatriots, I should say, get back behind the wheel, you're going to see some very different positions, some very different lap times coming in. But of course, qualifying is always a little bit less pressure in a 2.5-hour endurance race, because it comes down to who's got the patience the longest. Let's have another look. We're going to see who that was skating their way out of the final turn and going rodeo out of the final corner. I still couldn't quite make out who that was, but it was literally seconds later that the Landi and Filio car joined them at the scene, lost the back end of the car, somehow managed to keep the car travelling enough that they could pirouette and go through the gravel without getting beached. So good reactions from either Lewis or Tom. Couldn't quite make out which driver it was behind the wheel on that occasion. This is the car of Luis Souza and Bruno Bonifacio. Very distinctive, very easy to make out, the number 2 machine from a distance in the JHSF car. Look at the snaking under braking as Leonardo Herman showing his car with Vito Rachista, definitely having a very tough time of it as they get onto the brakes there. So the Coppet Porsche 23, very much under pressure and on the limits by the look of it for Leonardo Herman. Now, Gabriel Job has just set the pace in the number 38 car, 1:41.247 for him. Matis Yorio is the one who's in second position. Antonello Bassani, third position at the moment, but there's still time to find. There's still opportunity. And it looks to me as though Antonello Bassani's time of 1:42.0, there's still a little bit more in the tank to find. But in the first sector, 20.112, don't think you're going to see much of an improvement there based on that. Certainly Yorio is trying to threaten for a pole position. As of course is this man under braking, Leonardo Herman, still having a really solid time of it as he finds pace. Now, Audio has gone 19.919 in the first sector, a 49.7 in the second. That definitely tells me they are trying to stretch that car and trying to find the pole position out of it. It's pretty tricky as they continue to make solid progress off the turn. 1 minute 2 left on the timer. Again, you're pushing this car to the ragged edge through this final turn. You're just turning, hoping that the rear end isn't going to overtake the front. It's very easily done, though, in these cars, because the crosswind that hits you on that rear corner can be very menacing. Well, good battle. Oh, how close was that over the edge for the car that is being shared by Alcif Benito and Gabriel Casagrande? Well, very tight indeed as they came off the final turn. And Filmanito and Casagrande, 2 very exciting drivers. It'll be really particularly exciting to see what Gabriel Casagrande makes of this race car when he is going to be out behind the wheel tomorrow. But what a scary moment that was coming off the turn. So as it stands at the moment, still no major changes for the top spot. That is the number 36 car being shared between Gabriel Robert and the man who's alongside him, Eric Santos. I should say the 38 actually, rather than the 36. Second place, no change, but it's still going well for the Challenge Cup competitors, Gao Castro and Matthias Joriol. Antonella Bassani has still put her car that she shares with Letizia Buffoni into third position for the time being. This is the number 22 that we were talking about earlier, Gao Castro and Matthias Joriol, fastest in the Challenge category, second overall. Behind Antonella Bassani and Letizia Buffoni, we've got fourth position, the 23 car at the moment. That is the one that is being shared between Leonardo Herman and Vitor Batista. There is the checkered flag. Antonella Bassani hoping for improvements on the final lap. Not going to happen. 1:42.034 is the standard bear that she sets. Almost joined by Luis Souza and Bruno Bonifacio. They get a 1:42.416. And they managed to pip the 23 car of Leonardo Herman and Vitor Batista down into, what is that, fifth position. Sixth place, that is Sadek Later, who is sharing his car with Fabio Carbone. And then seventh place for the 83 car, that is the Alcifel Benito and Gabriel Cascarancha pairing up. And in eighth position, we've got the 44, I do believe. That's the car of Giuliano Bertuccelli and Pietro Rimbano. Ninth place, that is the machine that is very hotly tipped, being shared by Iago Garcia and Miguel Mariotti. That's the 808 car. In 10th position, I do believe that was the 19 of Luis Lando and Tom Fidio, who had their moment in the gravel. All smiles for the crews that have come home in a good position. They've obviously got the pole in their individual category as well. So a very good start, in particular for the 22. That's Gao Castro and Matthias Jorio, congratulating each other after a very exciting and very close run battle in the Challenge Cup. Well, fortunately for race fans, we've got two more sessions of the Challenge Cup cars. 12 more minutes in each session, of course. We get more opportunities to see what these guys are capable of. I'll report it on the spot just before handing over the car. We have already heard from Matthias Jorio earlier in the day, I do believe. Now we're going to hear from Gaio Castro. If I'm wrong, that's the other way around, but at least we got the two correct drivers named in the individual categories. So excellent stuff for all of the drivers here. But there is a real passion to this event. You know, it almost feels like a bit of a holiday, to be fair, because these guys, obviously for the majority of them who are used to racing in Brazil, they're out of Brazil, they're in Portugal, they're on a location rather than on home soil. So it definitely gives us a little bit more excitement. But we'll see some more continued action from them as they continue to develop the course, continue the cars, and make some headway around this fantastic Estoril circuit. The second session, again of 12 minutes, again for these endurance challenge cars. So you're going to see the challenge competitors out there. I'm not entirely sure why we only saw 11 cars out on the circuit though. I'm not entirely sure what happened to the other three. They were not only entered, but I'm fairly sure we saw them out on the track through the course of the performance. I'm not entirely sure what happened to Andrei Gajinski and Vanya Pontes. I'm not sure I saw the 17 out there. Certainly didn't see Miguel Quetano and Joao Posa in the 166. So that was definitely one car that was missing from the fray. And I think we're missing another of the rookie entries. I think it might be Paulo Totaro and Guga Lima in the 45 car. So definitely some missing faces. Some teams not quite able to get out for the first session, was it? Or maybe even the practice session didn't quite give us the result we wanted. But even so, some good challenges, some good performances. And don't forget, the qualifying session may be thin on numbers for this particular battle. But when this one wraps up, they're going to be combined in the race tomorrow with the Carrera Cup category. So the challenge drivers will be added to the court, what I would love to refer to as a super grid. The second session, gearing up, about to get underway then. 12 more minutes of the course. And it'll be fascinating to see what the drivers make of it here in the Carrera Cup Challenge Trophy, here in the C6 Bank Porsche Endurance Challenge of Brazil. So the second session will obviously give the drivers the chance to swap positions. They'll swap drivers as well. So Antonella Bassani for definite is going to get out of the car and hand it over to Letizia Buffoni. You're going to get some very differing lap times now, because you've got drivers not just in the rookie fraternity, but also in the Sport Trophy. You've got them also in the Challenge Cup. You've got them in the Carrera Cup Brazil, and they're all in different grades and categories in those as well. Challenge, Sport, and Rookie. Here's Antonella Bassani. Good to see her looking pretty confident. Third position in qualifying. They should be fairly happy with that from the first session, but I've got a feeling that Antonella is going to want a little bit more from herself. She always seems to be her own worst critic. She'll always put herself down a little bit more than she needs to, but an incredibly talented race driver. When you're a champion of Porsche racing here in Brazil, that tells you everything you need to know about her focus, her dedication, her commitment, and her potential as she continues to move forward as well. I rate Antonella very highly, especially considering some of the racecraft we saw earlier in the year, to see her push her weight around and get herself into a winning position earlier in the year at Velocita. But this is a very different challenge, of course, a very different task for all of the contenders, because this is not sprint racing, this is endurance. And this requires you to be smooth and fluid throughout. It's a very different discipline of motor racing. And in sprint racing, you can afford to go hungry and push the car, because you've only got 20 minutes really at the limit, 25, 30 minutes at tops, pushing the car to the limit. But in these 2.5-hour races, it's got to be about measuring speed. You can't get too caught up in wheel-to-wheel battles with other drivers. You have to maximize what chances are going to be created for you. Never easy. But it's wonderful to see how these incredible drivers have managed to commit themselves and dedicate themselves to it as they move forward. By my math, 38 cars likely to take the grid then for tomorrow's 2.5-hour C6 Bank Porsche Endurance Challenge Brazil race here at the Circuito Estoril in Portugal. Great to be back at this circuit once again. I think it's the first time I've ever actually had the chance and the honour to talk about racing on the Estoril circuit. And it's certainly bringing back a heck of a lot of memories from my days playing Jeff Crammond's Grand Prix 2 as a youngster. Definitely the best video game in the world. Do not argue. That's another argument. You will not win. So the changeover for Andrei Gudzinski and Vanya Portes. Well, that car is definitely going out onto the circuit. Even if we didn't see it earlier on, we're definitely going to get to see it this time. So I think that's going to make it the 39th car out onto the field. Gaio Castro and Matthias Yorio having a good, hearty conversation before they get into the action once again. So it'll be fascinating to see how this car continues to adapt and continues to develop going into this second session. Garcia and Mariotti in the Approach Technology car, the orange machine, the 808, wanting to continue their progress. There or thereabouts in terms of pace. Nothing spectacular, but it doesn't need to be just yet. It needs to be in the race. Endurance qualifying mattering quite significantly less than sprint racing, because in endurance you've got a lot more time to play with to make that progress, to step it up the attack and to develop the battles and the processions a little bit further forward. So it really will be fascinating. Claudio Reina and Joao Gonçalves hoping for a much faster time run this time. And they're definitely going to have an interesting and exciting battle for it. Out onto the circuit comes the combination of Alcifer Benito and Gabriel Casagrancha. Well, hang on a minute, they just went straight through the yellow flag, obviously because they're going slowly, and then waited at the end of the pit lane for the green flag to send them out onto the circuit. Hopefully that's all above board. Looked to me as though they waited long enough to make sure they got the green flag out of the pit lane. It's certainly a fascinating challenge for all of the contenders. It'll be really exciting to see how everybody pushes to gain more experience, more great battles. Excited to see how things continue to develop and progress. So with the drivers having swapped over, got a different driver behind the wheel, and then of course for the third they can choose basically whichever of the two drivers they wish to put in. Nice conversation there with the number 23 car. This is the regular driver in the Klopper machine, that is Leonardo Herrmann. We saw him battling in fantastic fashion at Velocita earlier in the season, of course, as well. So a really exciting and intriguing situation for the drivers in the heart of the second qualifying session for the challenge competitors. So it won't be too far gone before everybody is getting themselves back into a speedy position once more. So we will continue to see The challenge continues to battle forward. Really quite keen to see who is going to come up with the goods. So we'll get to see some fantastic situations for all of the contenders out there, and I'll be fascinated to see what we're going to get in terms of the spice of life run from these qualifying contenders. So let's see how it all continues to develop. I'll be very surprised and very fascinated if we see the same result, the same cars at the front end of the field that we saw last time, because once you change drivers, everything becomes very different. The car behavior, the handling has obviously changed and adapted to a particular driver. Now they've got to try and feel their way around it in a car that they're not familiar with. Check out the cross-check on the way through the second corner there. Not the easiest to line up, clearly, for Geo Castro and Matias Yorio, having swapped drivers over, struggling to stop the car and get it turned in. The car was really sliding away through. And again, just a fascinating trajectory, just going deeper out of the corner to the middle, then getting a faster line off the turn. It's fascinating to see that with this car, you have a very different approach to what a racing line is compared to what you do in, say, a single-seater or a touring car, for example. And these guys, so much to the limit of what these cars can and can't do. And I tell you, that is phenomenally exciting to see what these particular team combinations are going to do this time round. Not clear cut, and that's what I like about it. It's never clear cut as to who's going to get the best result of it. When everybody's got the equal machinery, you're going to find some really interesting battles between the competitors. The treble 9 working its way through at the end of this particular sector. Claudio Arena and Joao Gonçalves starting the lap, hoping for another fast time. And again, I can only count 11 cars in the mix, so I think we have lost the 45 of Palatadaro and Kujilina. I think we have lost the... Let's see who else we would have fallen away from the fray. Just trying to see who else is missing in the ranks. I think we may have lost the 166 of Miguel Gaetano. Oh no, that is Miguel Gaetano and Joao Bossa. They're on the track, so I was missing a few cars earlier on, but they seem to have emerged now on the circuit again, because Miguel Gaetano and Joao Bossa are on the road, and so too is Andrei Gajinski and Rania Bontes. I was not sure they were around, but they are. So we are getting those lap times coming in. Only 11 on the timing screen at the moment, but I count that there are 13 teams that are definitely part of this exciting brigade, possibly even 14. The car turn in. It's difficult to get the line right, and different drivers approach it differently. Reina and Gonçalves definitely stretching it. There is the number 66 once again. Very competitive run from Cedric Leiter and Fabio Carbone. They want to get the most out of the car, and they're obviously going to work increasingly hard to get one particular side to turn in better than another. I always know that that's a bit of a jiggy rendition, a bit of a difficulty with certain particular cars, particularly the Porsche. 7 minutes to go in the second challenge session. But we are going to get a different result. Top spot at the moment is the 166. That's Miguel Gaetano and Joao Bossa. 146.737. It's not representative yet because everybody's basically just set a benchmark time to warm up. But what can the team of Cedric Leiter and Fabio Carbone do? Are they going to go top spot now for the moment? Not at the moment. They're obviously building up to the fast lap. They don't want to let anybody know what they're doing until it's absolutely too late to defend themselves and do anything about it. 66 car completing its out lap. Now it's got to go for the fast lap. It'll be fascinating to see which of the teams is able to adapt to this situation best and find a little bit more pace out of it. It's my timing screen frozen on 7 minutes for the time being, or 6:59, I should be more accurate to suggest. Hopefully that's only a temporary glitch and we're going to get to see the timing screen update again as normal, but it does seem to have fallen back a little bit. Fortunately, I've got another version of the timing screen in front of me here, and I can tell you that it is now Leiter and Carbone has gone top spot. They've gone quicker. They've put their car up to the top spot for the time being. Gal Castro and Yorio find themselves in second position for the moment. Garcia and Mariotti in third, and Joao Bossa and Miguel Gaetano currently in fourth position in front of Letizia Buffoni and Antonella Bassani. So a nice close-knit battle between the drivers. Lots of chatting and banter going on down in pit road. I spy Rubens Barrichello. and his teammate Werner Neugebauer. Legendary status of Rubens Barrichello. He's such an amazing competitor. Look at that. That's Leonardo Herrmann, I do believe, coming over. Oh no, wait, my apologies. That is still Werner Neugebauer coming over and saying hello to his stablemate Rubens Barrichello. We did it. The timing screen there in front of us says 6 minutes and 59 left on the session. I can tell you there is actually 5 minutes and 40 seconds completed. So that would tell you that we are very close indeed to the halfway point. So snaking under braking again, the 23 car. We really are stretching it between Vitor Batista and Leonardo Herrmann. We know it's Batista behind the wheel this time, as we've been told so. In fact, Salaglater has set the quickest time, but it's not updated on our screens yet, so that's really unfortunate. We can't really keep the play-by-play flowing particularly strongly without having that incredible dexterity of the pace of the two cars. So it can be very tricky to see how that all phases out. And it's very tricky stuff at the moment. Hopefully that timing screen is going to update sooner rather than later, so we will get a better indication as to the times that are coming through. But fortunately, my timing screen beside me is updating, so I should be able to tell you when the positions change in a much more fluid turnaround. Hopefully it's going to be enough to keep the ball rolling all the way through. It's certainly very close quarters racing at the moment as they try to find that extra little pace. Static Lighter with the fastest lap at the moment. Gaio Castro has found a P2. There's Letizia Buffoni. Very impressed with her so far. P5 is where that car currently rests, just in behind Yoel Garcia and Joao Bossa. So a good run from Letizia Buffoni. She's quicker at the moment than Bertuccelli and Gajinski, as well as Santos and Alcifer Benito. Has not really been able to extract the best out of that car yet. A 149.0 from the 83 machine. Still a bit of time to find. And here is Letizia Buffoni. Let's ride with her. Good pace as she finds her way through. Terrific opportunity to really find the finer qualities of this race car. She is learning so much this year. And coming into the Endurance Challenge as teammates to Letizia Buffoni, you couldn't ask for a better stablemate. She's going to learn so much in terms of the waft of confidence. It's going to be massive as a game changer for her. And she's going to get so much benefit from working with such a competitive individual. Really, really pleasant, really, really nice to see. And it just shows you just how much dedication and how much focus there is within these operations to try and get these drivers to move forward. That is so much about what the Porsche Challenge drivers are all here to do. They're not just here to race, they're here to develop, they're here to learn, they're here to improve and increase their racing acumen. Really is fantastic to see what these guys continue to produce week in, week out. And Letizia Buffoni definitely stepping up to the plate. There's Alcifer Benito snaking under braking. Looks like the car is actually very difficult to handle at the moment. As there once again is the combination of Leonardo Herrmann and Vitor Batista, although it is Vitor Batista who's actually behind the wheel at the moment. We saw Leonardo Herrmann in the pit garage a short while ago. We are not done yet. We still have a little bit of time to play with here. 3 minutes left of the session. Unfortunately, as you can see, our timing screen has well and truly crashed on the broadcast. Hopefully that's going to continue no problem on Chronobox. You can follow along if you are so inclined. But I'm sure that our technical team is working on bringing that timing screen up again. Look how tough it is for Vitor Batista to get the car slowed down under braking when on the limit. Very tricky stuff. There is a nice conversation as Rubens Barrichello is just keeping an eye on things by the look of it. Always great to see Rubens. He's so up for his motor racing. He just doesn't seem to age. I'll bet you there is a painting in Rubens Barrichello's attic that keeps changing because it's aging better than he is at the moment because he's staying very much in the same position, very much staying in the same modus operandi. Hopping over the curves, the 23 continues. to try and find that pace. Vitor Batista, their best time is currently at 2 minute 1.7, so they've not really found the fast time yet. But this is where Vitor Batista can put that all to bed. Watch and expect. Is that number 12, is that number 23, sorry, going to get up to the top 5 on the first flying lap? Let's find out as they come through. And over the line, what is the time going to be? Well, it's still remains the same on my screen. So again, that seems to have frozen as well now. Hopefully we can get that changed. No, it has updated. 140.785, straight up to the top spot then from Vitor Batista. Quicker than Sadek, quicker than Garcia. There it is. It's come up onto our screens now as well. Vitor Batista manages to bounce in with a 140.785. You can see how far over the limit Sadek is trying to go to try and match it. 143.2 is the pace that we've got from them. Let's have a look and see, can we get a faster time as they cross the line and take the checkered flag? No improvement. What a big lap that was from Vitor Batista, a 140.7 compared to everybody else in the 143 zone at this moment in time. So here is Letizia Buffoni. The time has continued at 145.481. She's going to park it, so that's all done and dusted from her perspective. No need to continue on with that. That was her last lap, I should point out. Her best lap is a 144.858. But fantastic to see that really strong pace come out at the very last lap there from Vitor Batista. They'd waited a long time. But Vitor Batista, basically full of confidence, blasts in with a 1 minute 40.7, smashing the previous pace set by Sadek Leiter, who did a 143.109 on his second flying lap and hasn't really been able to go quicker than that since. Hasn't even looked likely to go terribly quicker than that until his previous lap on 143.20. So very close run thing. Once again, a very tricky situation. But let's see how difficult it has been to continue making solid progress as they continue in fine formation. What an exciting battle in qualifying. Vitor Batista coming up to the top spot then on a 1 minute 40.785. So much quicker than everybody else in this particular field. We did say that the order was going to be different in the second of the challenge groups. They're going to continue. In the rookie category, Manossi and Costa definitely going fast enough to be incredibly impressive on this one. And they are still finding a little bit more track. So now we're getting to see the fastest cars across the different categories. Junior and Sergio Romayo in the car sport category. The Carrera Sport category, look how cool that car looks. And that's going to be fighting right up at the sharp end of the dais in the Endurance Challenge tomorrow. In Carrera Cup, Neugebauer and Barrichello. Expect them to be big contenders for the victory tomorrow. They're definitely going to showcase some real excitement out there on the course. I cannot wait to see how things are going to progress as we continue up. So the cars come back into pit lane. Great conversation between Werner Neugebauer and Rubens Barrichello. They'll have a nice conversation. They're the ones that have set the pace in Carrera Cup. Good to see them. And they come through with a trophy for getting the job done in Carrera Sport across the sessions. That's another great trophy to add to Rubens Barrichello's ever-growing collection now of silverware. That's a particularly good one for Werner Neugebauer as well in terms of his prowess in 2024 in Porsche Carrera Cup Brazil. That really steps him up. Of course, the trophy's going to the drivers, not for setting the fastest lap across one particular session, but it's over the course of the 3 sessions which team has been able to come out on top. Really close battles across the board there, so a very happy Werner Neugebauer, and of course having someone like Rubens Barrichello in your team certainly helps. It definitely gives you a massive boost to continue making the progress and to up the ante, so you can be very happy with what he has been able to achieve. And having someone like Rubens Barrichello in your wing guard, you couldn't really ask for any better. The man who never ages, who never slows down. He's just as fast as he was when he first stepped into a Grand Prix car in 1993. Excellent stuff from Ruben Yeo. He is a wonderful man. I've had the very esteemed privilege of meeting him on several occasions. The first time I got to was at the Goodwood Festival Speed several years ago. And they always say, don't they, never meet your heroes because it's always a disappointment. Oh, not even close to it with Rubens. Such a wonderful personality, a great character, full of charisma, full of positive attitude and such a lovely, lovely bloke. He loves his racing cars. And I can honestly tell you, walking along with him at the Goodwood Festival of Speed for about 3 minutes or so, he was like a kid in a candy store, just ogling all these amazing racing cars from his youth, from other people's youths, and from the modern era. The guy's got so much love for motor racing. Great to see Werner Neugebauer and Rubens Barrichello in the number 8 car, getting the top spot done in Carrera Cup. Excellent, fantastic stuff. So we're just waiting for the Carrera Cup cars to, well, the Carrera Cup cars have already finished up, I should say. The challenge cars are going to have one more session, but the pole position, the trophy, is confirmed for the Carrera Cup pairing of Werner Neugebauer and Rubens Barrichello. Excellent performance from them. They totally deserve the accolades for putting this amazing battle together. And it's a perfect pair-up, isn't it? And we're looking at Miguel Gaetano and Joao Bossa. They were out a little bit earlier on. I don't know if we've already started the third session, and that's them heading out onto the circuit. I can't tell if this is a replay or if this is live pictures, because the timing screen obviously dropping out has definitely made it a little bit more challenging. There is the number 23 car, definitely pitching up for a good run. What a lap that was from Vitor Batista in the second of the Challenge Cup sessions, going almost 3 seconds quicker than any other car in the mix. So a very impressive run from Vitor Batista out of the box. Just trying to prove a point, I'm sure, from that previous qualifying run. With the number 23, Coppert Porsche, doing well. This is the combination I'm most excited about over the course of the weekend, I have to say. Antonella Bassani and the ever-improving Letizia Buffoni. I think there's really some good legs in this particular car. They've made so much progress. Both drivers have definitely been on their A-game more than once over the course of this fantastic accolade in this great battle. But there is still some more to come, because the drivers are going to head out onto the circuit one more time, I do believe, in the Challenge Cup, because we've had Carrera Cup out on circuit 3 times. We should have the Challenge battlers on the circuit the 3rd time as well. And then, of course, after today, the cars will all be packed to bed. They won't be worked on too extensively, because they're only allowed to do certain things with it. And then, of course, we will go into race mode tomorrow. 2.5 hours of this Circuito Estoril circuit, the former venue for the Portuguese Grand Prix in Formula 1, where a young Rubens Barrichello made a very big impression in his early Formula 1 days for the Jordan team in 1993, 94, 95, and, of course, 1996, before the Portuguese Grand Prix ended up moving on from the Estoril circuit. But there have been some amazing races to have taken place in that particular locale, and certainly in the particular runnings of the Grand Prix circuit here. It's been fantastic to see so many fantastic competitors. Of course, the very first Portuguese Grand Prix wasn't held here. It was actually held at Boavista and Monsanto, the 2 circuits sharing duties between 1951 and 1960. It took a long time before Estoril opened its doors to Formula 1 back in 1984. It's great to see it now where it is, and it's been absolutely fantastic. Only twice has it since returned to the country, Formula 1 racing, but that was over at the Algarve International Circuit in Portimão, but certainly in the Portuguese Grand Prix, and has been phenomenal. So a very happy run then indeed from our competitors. I think we're having a little bit of a chinwag with Sadok Leiter, I do believe. So Sadok Leiter, having done such a good job in his competitive run there, and doing such a fantastic job in the 66 car in the first initial session. We're not quite done yet with the challenge competitors. They're going to come out onto the circuit one more time as well. But it is fascinating when you consider the competitors that have actually won races in the Portuguese Grand Prix on this Estoril circuit. The likes of Alain Prost, Ayrton Senna, Nigel Mansell, Gerhard Berger, Riccardo Patrese, a young Michael Schumacher, a young Damon Hill, a very young David Coulthard, and Jacques Villeneuve, just a year before he became world champion himself. And the only other drivers to have ever won a Formula 1 race of any kind in Portugal were the likes of Casimiro de Oliveira, Eugenio Castellotti, Jose Ario Nogueira Pinto, Jose Froilán González, Jean Bera, Juan Manuel Fangio, Sterling Moss, Jack Brabham, Chris Kerrison, Rodney Banting, Jörg Dubler, and a young lad called Lewis Hamilton. That would be in Portugal at Portimao in 2020 and 2021. So the final cars coming out onto the circuit then, it's the third rotation for the challenge cars as they make their way out onto the circuit. Again, we'll only have about a dozen of them or so out onto the circuit for this third and final bout. But at the end of this, we will have a real exciting run as the contenders will have yet more great action to discuss and relay to their teammates. But Sadeglaiter, having got out of the car, he hands it over to the very talented Fabio Carboni. Now, for those of you who are sitting there watching the broadcast here thinking, hang on a minute, Fabio Carboni, why do I know that particular race? Racer, where do I know that name from? Well, you know it pretty well because he's done all sorts of incredible things over his career. Moving his way up the ranks of Brazilian motorsport. He was racing in karting until 1995, winning the national championship then. He was in Formula Chevrolet and he was vice champion behind a chap called Felipe Massa. He moved to Europe in 2001, raced in both the Italian and Formula Renault championships of Europe. So having some exciting battles in his youth. He raced in the British Formula 3 Championship, winning the Masters F3 in 2002. He won the second outing of the Pau Grand Prix, and he was in pole position for the Monaco Grand Prix in 2003 as well. He raced as the practice driver for A1 Team Brazil, then took an active part in Formula Nippon and Super GT in 2007. And has been racing in Brazil ever since 2011, where he raced in the Brasileiro de Marcas, as well as Stock Car Brazil and in Porsche GT3. So he's been very much racing everywhere over his fairly lengthy career now, and has been a race winner in pretty much everything he's turned his hand to. Hasn't been a full-time driver since 20... to come and race in the endurance, and it's been wonderful to see him back in the car once again. So there is the number 83 car. This is the one that is usually raced by Alcio Filmanito. It certainly is going to be this time as well, but he's sharing that car with two-time Stock Car Pro Brazil champion Gabriel Casagrande. This is a very different opportunity for him, a week before he goes back to racing in his regular berth. So 9 minutes left of the session. Drivers obviously wanting to put themselves into a competitive position with this third and final rotation. So everybody's still warming up tyres and brakes. A really exciting run for all of the contenders. This is the very rapid Treble 9. It's the car that's being shared by João Gonçalves and Claudio Reina. They had a very difficult move up to this in the first session. They were not particularly quick out of the blocks. They've got a time here for the last session to really try and make something of that change. 8 minutes and 15 on the clock. Still in the warm-up phase of both tyres and brake pads. You can see the latter stages of the sun running starting to bear down on this circuit now. It is coming up to 6 p.m. local time here in Portugal. Those slight delays from the qualifying session earlier means the sun is definitely coming down over Estoril pretty quickly. There is the number 66 car. Sadeglaiter is no longer in it, of course. We saw him being interviewed earlier on. It is Fabio Carboni, out of retirement pretty much, to come and race in this car once again. But he has plenty of experience, a decade or so of racing in Porsche GT3s, not just here in Brazil, but further afield as well. And the driver who's come up to the top spot for the moment is the combination of Luis Souza and Bruno Bonifacio, 145.0. We're still in the warm-up phase, though, of course, trying to get the car to its peak performance. You warm up the tyres and brakes to the maximum temperature before you really push it on a qualifying lap in these cars. Otherwise, you're going to have absolutely no confidence when you hit the brake pedal at the end of that long straight. You want to make sure that the turning is right, the braking is accurate, the drive that you get off the turn has got to be absolutely precise. If you've got no confidence in that car, then how on earth do you know if it's going to turn it to? You've got to be so precise, so balanced, so careful as you make your way through. Up the hill, Fabio Carboni is still pressuring. There's the 808. This is the combination of Iago Garcia and Miguel Mariotti. You can see not the best of lines turning in. I don't know if this car is still trying to work up to a solid run. Just trying to count how many cars we've actually got out there now. I count 13. So there's still one car missing from the fray, and I'm fairly confident that is the number 45 of Paulo Totaro and Gujay Lima, who I don't think are taking any further part in the weekend. Everybody else that's in the list is up to speed. That means we've got 40 Porsches ready to race for the 2.5 hours C6 bag Porsche Carrera Endurance Challenge Brazil tomorrow. We've got 6 categories within that race, don't forget, because we've got the Carrera Cup, we've got the Sport Carrera and Rookie Carrera, we've also got the Challenge Cup, and then we have Challenge Sport and Challenge Rookie as well. So 6 races within one 2.5 hour battle tomorrow. It's going to be really exciting to catch up with everybody and make sure we've got a handle on all the classes. So there's going to be a lot of talking points tomorrow as well. A lot of interesting battles within battles, races within races, all encompassing on this Circuito Estoril circuit. And it's Porsche Carrera Cup of Brazil. So there's going to be lots of action. The drivers are going to treat it like a sprint until they have to come in and change drivers. It's going to be very exciting to watch tomorrow, that's for sure. 5 minutes and 20 on the clock for the combination of Elsie Feldman and Gabriel Casagrancha. I think that might actually be Casagrancha at the wheel, trying to get the most out of this Porsche. Really exciting to see a combination of talents from both Porsche Brazil's paddock and Stock Car Pro Brazil, and even further afield as well. Seeing the likes of Antonio Felix da Costa and Tony Kanaan come in to compete in the race for tomorrow. We've also got big names like Nelson Piquet Jr. and Rubens Barrichello in the mix, of course, as well, and plenty of talent from the Stock Car Pro grid, including Gabriel Casagrancha, who I'm fairly sure is the man behind the wheel, because that looks like Elsie Feldman Nito to the side. Yes, it is. So it's Gabriel Casagrancha who is behind the wheel. Oh, finding it very tough under braking. You've got to remember that there's a very different horsepower output in the Stock Car Pro. It is a rear-wheel drive car as well, but it's a very different race car. And of course, you've got that booster in Stock Car Pro Brazil that gives you another 90 brake horsepower when you need it. You haven't got that in a Porsche Challenge Cup car, that's for sure. But he's certainly finding the balance of this car a little more to his liking. And he's got the fastest time at the moment, at 1 minute 40.782. He's going to get traffic in the wrong place. Oh, that is not where he wanted it, and it's going to drift him out wide as a result. That's really going to affect the lap time, I think. But even so, Gabriel Casagrancha, a big impression made on this session. And he's still quicker, despite getting held up on the final bend by the 17. That bodes well. Even though Gajinski and Pontes were in front of him, he still managed to make the lap go quicker. So very good work indeed from Gabriel Casagrancha. As we were just looking there at Giuliano Bertuccelli and Pietro Rimbano. There is the combination, the Giants car, 44. But coming up to second position, the 44, that is Bertuccelli and Rimbano. So they've just done a 140.937. No wonder we had to keep an eye on them. And in third, we've got Luis Souza and Bruno Bonifacio. Oh, running very wide. That's a big mistake, I'm afraid, for the 17. Trying to make big gains again. And that is Gajinski and Pontes trying to get out of the way. So they have managed to do that, but that was not really the best way of going about it from their perspective. Fourth position at the moment, Fabio Carboni, showing that car has been over Sada Gleiter. Fifth place, the treble 9, Claudio Reina and João Gonçalves. And then the 23 is next up. That is the car that is a combination of Vitor Batista and Leonardo Herman. Seventh place at the moment is the 808. That is the car of Iago Garcia and Miguel Mariotti. And 22 is in 8th place. That's Cal Castro and Matis Foriol. There is still a bit of a pressure cooker here from Rimbano. Pietro Rimbano sharing the car with Giuliano Bertuccelli. Second position, 4/10 away from Gabriel Casagrancha. They'd like to go quicker. Let's see how they can carry on. Then 19, I should say, Luis Landi and Tom Filio. Their car is in 9th at the moment. 10th place for the 38. That is the combination of Eric Santos and Gabriel Roba. And then 11th position for the 166. That is the combo of Miguel Gaetano and Joao Posa. 12th position at the moment, that is Antonella Bassani and Leticia Buffoni. They've not really been able to come out of the blocks in the same way. What's happened here? Oh, that is the 66. I'm afraid that is a mistake of Fabio Carboni. You don't see too many of those. Fabio Carboni just overshooting there on the way through turn 2 on the approach to 3. Just a little bit too much pace on that occasion. Then behind Antonella Bassani and Leticia Buffoni, the 17 is the one that's at the back of the field. That's Andrei Gajinski and Vanya Pontes. So 1 minute 40 left on the clock. Fascinating to see what these guys will do to finish up. But I think it's going to be Casagrande all the way. In fact, he's just improved his time to a 1 minute 40.210. That's 6/10 quicker than Rimbano. A good run from Pietro Rimbano with Giuliano Battucchetti in behind. Look in the background, we're going to see Antonello Bassani and Letizia Buffoni. No improvement on 1:45.774. I wonder if this is the time when Buffoni's in the car, because they haven't quite been able to get up to speed yet. Either that, or they've just been doing relentless warm-up and haven't really been pushing. Here is Leonardo Herrmann, and with Vitor Batista, who was so quick in the previous session, of course. A little bit flirting with track limits there by the look of it. So some really exciting challenges from the contenders. It's still all going from the guns blazing. Check us out, Mum. We're doing well in terms of pace. On the phone trying to get the data to work and maybe showing someone back home where the live stream is. But the 23 Coppered car, Vitor Batista and Leonardo Herrmann, they really want to crack that top three open if they can. They're currently sat in P7. They were the fastest car in the previous group, but it's a different group, different times, different drivers in the hunt. It's going to be a much tougher situation for them all. But the time they want to beat is a 1:42.405. The time they need to beat if they want to be top spot is 1:40.210. What is the time they do? I'll tell you, it's not quick enough. 1:42.245 remains their best. And then we run out of time now. So anybody that's on a flying lap, this is the one you've got to complete. Wouldn't surprise me at all if the 23 actually bails down from the lap, because they've obviously been pushing very hard indeed to finish off the session on a high note. The checkered flag is out on the main straight, so it's time to see if anybody's going to beat the time set by Gabriel Casagrande. Of course, all of the main ramifications for these combinations across groups 1, 2 and 3, they're going to come out with a wash on the website as well. So make sure in the interim you're being updated with all of the latest news from the website, Porsche GT3Cup.com.br. That's where you can find all of the latest information on all of the latest sessions. You'll find out the starting grid as well tomorrow, I'm sure, from there. And then you'll be able to join us tomorrow for 2.5 hours on-track activity here at the Circuito Estoril for the C6 Bank Porsche Endurance Challenge Brazil. Not a bad effort from Vitor Batista in the second group. In the third group, Leonardo Herrmann not really able to match the same sort of pace. I assume that's the way around it's gone. But a fantastic and phenomenal run, and right over the sharp end, Gabriel Casagrande showcasing his incredible form as a racing driver. Nobody able to match him in terms of pace in this one. So some very happy competitors out there. I think that's the final confirmation that Leonardo Herrmann and Vitor Batista have managed to get the best overall average time in Challenge Cup after that mammoth effort from Vitor Batista earlier on. He's happy with that. So that will put them at the sharp end of the grid tomorrow. 40 cars are going to take to the circuit at the Circuito Estoril. And boy, oh boy, are we in for an amazing race battle. So the 40 cars have completed their 3 qualifying runs. We've got some really exciting battles over the course of the race to come tomorrow. Werner Neugebauer and Rubens Barrichello in the 8 car have managed to put themselves at the front of the Porsche Carrera Cup brigade. In the Challenge brigade, it has been very much about these two who have worked their craft brilliantly to the end. The combination of Vitor Batista and Leonardo Herrmann expect them to be real challengers for the 2.5 hour encounter tomorrow. We're going to be back with you on Motorsport TV with some more fantastic race action tomorrow. Don't forget, we are going to be live for the entirety of that race, 2.5 hours of the C6 Bank Porsche Endurance Challenge Brazil here in Portugal. Great to see them on their holiday. Let's see the winning moment though as Vitor Batista and Leonardo Herrmann celebrate their joint efforts to go pole position in the Challenge Cup. It's all about the aggregate times across the 3 sessions. They've done an amazing job. They deserve the accolades, and they're going to get a final bit of reaction. We'll leave you with the best bits of the challenge battles out there. Gabriel Casagrande getting the best individual lap time from the 3rd session. But there's so much we still don't know about who's going to come out on top. We'll leave our reporters on the Portuguese stream to catch up with our leaders. They've been fantastic. The combinations of Leonardo Herrmann and Vitor Batista make sure you wear the corporate cap, make sure you do you've got to make sure you get yourself in the right position. The trophies will come over for them, I'm sure, during this little interview. But a reminder to everybody that you've got a really exciting race to come tomorrow with 2.5 hours on the clock, going to be giving us some amazing race battles around this Circuito Estoril circuit. There'll be great opportunities for overtaking, there'll be more battles, more differences across the stints as well, because drivers will be trying to figure out when's going to be the best time to change over for a particular team, a particular driver. It's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out, and you can see it all unfold and unravel here on the Motorsport TV website. Don't, of course, forget that you can follow along all the latest news as it happens in the evening here and overnight. And Porsche GT3 Cup.com.br is obviously going to be the main factor of that. You'll hear all of the reactions. It's obviously been a very good start indeed for all of the teams. They're very happy in the background, aren't they? You can hear the celebrations of the number 23 Copper squad. They're very excited to go into the race tomorrow. You're going to see some great celebrities take to the race circuit here at Circuito Estoril. The Copper 23 crew are going to celebrate. They've enjoyed their moment. They're going to get the trophies for doing so as well. But tune in tomorrow. We're going to see 2.5 hours of great race action. All the Porsche Brazil regulars are here, along with the likes of Formula E champions Nelson Piquet Jr. and Antonio Felix da Costa, Formula 1 star Rubens Barrichello, Indy 500 winner Tony Kanaan, and then the likes of the best from Porsche Brazil and also from Stock Car Pro Brazil. You're going to get so much entertainment, so much drama tomorrow. From me, Jake Sanson, thank you very much indeed for tuning into qualifying here at the C6 Bank Porsche Brazil Endurance Challenge. More to come tomorrow when 2.5 hours at the Circuito Estoril will decide who the victors are this weekend. Bye for now.